What's up, James? How you doing, man? Oh, Shug, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
Shug.
There you go.
Or SugEasy. Either way, works for me.
It's nice to meet you, man.
And you too.
So talk to me. You are the owner of Break Free, right?
Yeah, I'm the director of Break Free Kansas City Hip Hop School.
Nice.
Where we teach and educate people on the understanding of hip hop and the culture itself. We teach adults and kids from the ages 3, and we teach DJ lessons, art classes, breakdancing, and hip hop.
Nice, man. What kind of got you started into that?
Let's see.
I guess take me back. You know,
we're gonna go way back.
Yeah.
So
we're here we go on for a while here sometimes.
So
no time limits.
We'll say about 5 years old is when I actually got into, I would say, dance itself. Family reunions, dancing with the mom, around the house, listen to the old school music. And then, fast forward a little bit, I think I was in so I went to a school that was K through 12, and I got introduced to breakdancing.
Uh-huh.
Started seeing it everywhere, seeing it on the streets. People in the school was doing it. And I think it was either the kindergarten or first grade. I'm going to go with first grade. And this is around the time where I was like one of the only kids in school that had an afro. And afros was out of style. But my mom kept it up. And I was going to do a talent show. And it was my first talent show to do. And I had like all white jean jacket, all white Levi's with the white t-shirt. I don't remember what color shoes I had on.
I'm guessing white.
Maybe, and I was getting ready to go on stage to do this show.
Mm-hmm.
And I freaked out, because K through 12, I want to say it had to be over 500 plus in this auditorium.
Right.
But I ended up coming out with the 11th and 12th graders. They was doing the show, but I was in the back corner.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since then, I didn't look back on dance, and I just kept pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
what was some of the music you were listening to back then? Like, kind of influenced you? You said your mom was playing a lot of old school music back in the day.
So I grew up on like the Barkays, the Commodores, Marvin Gaye,
Al Green,
what's Teddy Pendergrass.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm trying to think.
You guys listen to any like real Smokey Robinson? What else, man? I'm so bad at names, man. I have a whole oldies playlist. I'm a big oldies lover.
Oh, okay.
And but yeah, that's kind of what I.
James Brown, Aretha Franklin. All those was the jam. The Temptations.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up on that.
Yeah.
Before I got into like breaking, but that was in the house. My mom had it on cassette tape.
Yeah.
And it was on records.
Yeah. I actually just bought a record player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I like it, man. I never had one. I always wanted one. I used to call them big CDs when I was younger.
Big CDs. I know that in the household, I'm pretty sure people that are my age, that's like 45, grew up in household with the record player.
Yeah.
You always hear, "Don't touch my records," and "Don't touch that needle," because those were like precious to the parents, especially your dad, because pretty much it was your dad's collection of records,
right?
And your mom will play them, ever so often. But
I know we take that for granted nowadays, right? Because we got Spotify and YouTube, and you can just look up whatever you want to listen to. But back then, you had to go buy that, like go out, buy it. Hopefully, you heard about it.
Shoot, let me see.
You had to do your homework.
But that's records, right? Before that, I still remember listening to 8-tracks.
Wow, shit! I've never even. I probably have seen one. I've never played around with one.
It's like a square.
Yeah, like a big VHS.
Right. And so, like, with the 8-track, the thing about that is you couldn't rewind it. So if you wanted to hear that same song again,
You had to wait.
You have to drive around for a long time for it to play that song again, because once it got to the end of the 8-track, it would stop and it would go.
Yeah.
It would wind all the way back to the beginning. Then you have to listen to it again until it got to 8-track. My bad.
No,
Sorry
you're good.
about that.
No, you're good, bro.
But yeah, that's what the 8-track was.
Yeah.
It was pretty dope though.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Did you have one in your car?
No.
No.
My family did. I didn't.
Yeah.
But it was cool though. That's back in the days when you had a Cadillac that had the real AC blowing where it got cold in the car. You need a blanket.
So, I've heard you talk on some YouTube videos and stuff about your school. So, can you kind of go into more detail on, like, I see you guys do the dancing. Is it more of like break dancing, or what type of dancing is it? Or is it a mixture of different type of dances?
So we have classes where we teach breaking, kids to adults. We have DJ lessons where we teach on turntables, and we start with vinyl. So we teach straight vinyl first before we get into the modern day technology like Serato. But we want to have the kids understand where it actually came from, and actually how to listen to a record, and how to dive into a record and use your hands, and how to drop the needles. Hip hop is another class we teach where the understanding and vocabulary and technique of the steps and where they come from, not just doing the step, but knowing the history of that. In art classes, we do different, how would I say it? I'm gonna right word. The different scopes of like drawing, pottery, graffiti, the different means of art,
right? Not
just doing one specific subject.
Nice, man. That's pretty neat. So you guys go through, I always hear a lot like the vinyl to, what is it?
Serato.
Yeah, that's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people say you're really not DJing if it's not on vinyl, or like.
You have that conversation because Serato, nowadays, anybody wants to be a DJ. They just go buy it and buy Serato. And then Serato will pretty much show you how to do it. They have the color scale, and people just match the colors just to DJ. Oh, I got to match this with the blue. And they drop it and they match it with the blue. But it also shows you on Serato where the 1 and the 2 is. Like mostly red is the 1. It's the kick.
What's the one? Oh, the kick?
Yeah.
What is the kick? What does that mean?
The bass.
Oh, okay.
Always the bass drum. And the 2 is always the hi-hat.
Oh, okay.
So exactly where the boom is. So people just match the colors. On vinyl, you actually got to listen to the music. You got to know the track. You got to know it from top to bottom. Sometimes you got to put the needle on, listen to the whole song, find out where the chorus is coming, find out where the breakdown is, and you can mark it with little dots. On Serato, you can just skip ahead and just like, oh, here it is right here.
I was listening to something a couple nights ago. It was a documentary on hip hop. I can't remember who they said the guy's name was, but basically how, and I'm going to be horrible with the terminology just because I don't know. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions.
You're right.
But kind of how they scratch, I think it's called, or something like that. But how it happened was his mom kept coming in to whoever this guy was. I can't remember his name. And she kept telling him to turn that shit off, basically. And he would hold down on the vinyl record. And he would hear that noise, and then he thought that it was just that record, but he would take it off and he'd put another one on, and the same thing, his mom would come in and tell him to turn it down or turn it off, and then he would stop it, and he would hear that noise it makes. And then that's kind of how that all came about. I don't know if you know.
So you're talking
maybe
about...
you would know a lot better than I would.
So you're talking about Grandmaster Flash?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I feel like I would remember that name, but...
Yeah, Grandmaster Flash. You had Kool Herc was another one.
I heard Kool Herc. That's who I think I was. I don't know if necessarily that story went with him, but I've heard him on the documentary as well, that he played a big part.
Yeah, Kool Herc was one of the DJs that they kind of basic like the birth of hip hop around his block party.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I heard about that.
At Cedric at 1520 Cedric Avenue in New York.
Yeah.
So now it's Cedric Avenue, but it's also known as the hip hop
Yeah, because
street.
back then it was real underground. No one really.
Yeah, so
It didn't even make it out of, from what I've heard, out of that area. Like that's kind of where it was.
Well, you had that was in the Bronx, but then it spread it to like Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens. So those different areas had, their DJ that they was proud of.
Right.
But the most talked about party was Kool Herc's party. The birthday is August 11th.
What was the difference with him? What made him stand out so much?
At that time, he had the biggest speakers.
Makes sense. Probably, and maybe the wider selection of music. I heard that the best DJs were the ones that had the best like albums, like your music, because like it wasn't talked about. They said DJs kept their music secret because they didn't want other people finding out about it, so they would kind of keep it to themselves.
Yeah, there was every
collection.
DJ had their own collection of music. They back in the days when they used to make their little mixtapes. People would go and try to find it, and who's this? And they would take that tape, go home, listen to it, and then take it and try to find those records. Sometimes they would take the tape and then tell other people they made the tape. But they didn't make the tape because it gets back to the other DJ. It was like, you stole my music. Everybody was original back then, but Kool Herc was very creative of looping, extending the break, right. So therefore he would take 2 records and extend the break.
Extending the break, is that?
And Grandmaster Flash was also known for that too.
Okay. Extending the break, is that when they were basically taking a small portion of that album and extending it out like 5-7 minutes or whatever? Is that what that means?
So looping, which is extending the break, and this is where the term breaking came from.
Okay.
Or B-boys or B-girls. So they would take the record, and when it got to the breakdown, they would extend the breakdown part as long as they could or as long as they wanted to. And that's when the B-boys, the B-girls will come out and break. Like today's age, people that break, they break to a whole song. Okay. Back then, you only break to the break. That was it. Because it was a party. So you're dancing with the ladies. You get your groove on. Then the DJ dropped the break. The B-boys, the B-girls, they would break. Once that break's over, you go back dancing with the ladies. And another thing about the B-boys at the time, it kind of, we're going to fast forward a little bit. So in the early 80s, around that time, this is how DJs knew if the record was hot. If the B-boys was breaking to the record, it was hot. If the B-boys didn't break to the record, that was a flop.
Right. Okay. Is that kind of when breakdancing started in the 80s? I think there's a big controversy behind that.
So breaking, so we'll go with their Rocksteady Crew. It was a very well-known group. And they started in 1973. So, but a lot of these B-boys and B-girls, they all came from different gangs and in New York.
Oh. Is it true that, and I'm sure it's depending on location and what people think where it first started, but I heard a guy say that breakdancing originated from tap dancing. Is that true at all?
I'm going to go with the education that I know, not from tap.
Got you.
But there's been similarities of dance moves that's been done from previous years.
Different styles of dancing.
But most people that break didn't understand those styles from previous years. They was just doing what they thought was original for them. And so when breaking started, it was tops, and it was ups, and then there was footwork. So depending on what borough you came from, this person created this, or this person created this, but then there's an argument about who created what, because I did it first in the Bronx, but you say you did it first in Brooklyn. but at the same time, we never saw each other.
Right.
And then
so
when you
who
hear,
was really first?
So when you hear about it, like say for instance, you was breaking in the Bronx and I was breaking in Brooklyn, but you was the best in the Bronx, I had to travel to the Bronx to see who you were and see how good you were.
Right.
And then I would go back and be like, yo, there's this cat in the Bronx that's really dope. He's really nice. We should go over there and serve him. So let's go battle their crew and see how nice we are.
When did breakdancing start, though? Like, what year did that?
So
was it around the DJing time? Like, did it kind of both come together, or is there a little bit of a separation?
It's a very interesting segue because people was already breaking, and then DJ was already DJing.
Oh, okay.
They just came together and just had a party. But breaking was like a way that the youth was staying out of trouble.
Gotcha.
And like I said, people thought that they was creating it because they was just doing moves. There was no names for the moves. They was just doing it and showcasing and sharing it to friends, whatever. But most of the people, how would I say it, did it for another way, for an outlet.
Gotcha. I asked because I was listening to, I think it was I don't think it was KRS-One, but somebody was talking about MCing and DJing and how those kind of came from each other. How the MC, you should just be the one kind of cracking jokes, getting the crowd hyped, and then the DJ had all the power. And then at some point in history, that flipped to where the MC, all of a sudden, when things became more vocal about the lyrics and not necessarily about the beat. I mean, I think the beats always played a big part, but the MC started to have more of the power.
The master of the ceremony. But that's like going, I'll give you a prime example. If you go look up a guy, his name is Busy B. And Busy B was known as one of the dopest MCs on the microphone, but he was the one that actually got the party hype with the DJ. And Busy B will always rhyme different things together. And, and the crowd fed off of that.
Right.
And so I believe and understand that Busy B was the one that actually got it going, got it started. But we can go all the way back to like, when was the first rhyme ever done? And we go back to Muhammad Ali. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. If you break that down, that was a whole rhyme itself.
Right. Just without a beat.
Just without a beat.
Yeah. Who do they say is the originator of that? Like, who was the first? I guess there's really no
first MC.
Yeah,
man. I don't know, because you can go back to, we can go back further than Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Well, like you said, different locations too. You know what I mean? Like, they say they were first, but this place says they were first. How do we know?
We can just go back to the battle between KRS-One and MC Shan. They're talking about Brooklyn and MC Shan talking about across the bridge, and they're battling each other. I mean, that's a legendary rap battle itself. But if you go back to like, I was trying to think of his name. I'm drawing a blank. But if you go back to Lindy Hop days and how they was singing with a different cadence and how they put things together, they was rhyming back then, but they didn't call it rapping.
Right. What they call it?
Shoot. That's a good question. I'm trying to remember. It's very interesting that you ask me these questions and I draw a blank.
Sorry, dude. I ask a lot of questions.
But if I just
I don't expect you to know all of them. I mean, shit, you can't know everything, man. I mean, I've done a lot of podcasts and I do a lot of, I'm a big podcast listener. I listen to a lot of documentaries and even me, dude. I mean, if you were to ask me about some stuff about my previous podcast of what I talked about, I'd draw blanks because I'm like, you got to remember the human brain can only retain so much information. Right. You know what I mean?
But it'll come back to me.
Yeah. Watch after the podcast. You're going to be like, shit.
It might be somewhere in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, it might be somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So you were, going back to when you were younger, you got stage fright. How did you overcome that? Like, were you a little older when you overcame that, or was it not too long after that?
I guess after that, I just continued to dance and just push myself, I guess.
And what type of dancing were you doing at that time?
So at that time, it was called, I was breaking.
Right.
And then I was...
Because what year was this?
1980s. Let me see. I was born in 78, 79, 88, 1, 2, 3. So 1983.
And so breaking was hot, right?
So I was breaking. This is right before B Street came out and Breaking the movie came out with Turbo Ozone and Special K.
What's your thoughts on the movie Breaking? Like my dad says it was awesome.
I thought the movie was dope.
Yeah.
Even as a kid,
yeah.
You know, I thought it was a dope movie. The older I got, I was like, eh.
Well, that's my thing.
It's not originally Breaking. I mean, so the movie is called Breaking, but there's really hardly any breaking in it.
That's what I was wondering.
So there's some locking and there's some popping and there's some waves. But there wasn't a lot of breaking. So you might see a little backspin here or donkey kicks here, or you might see some footwork here when they went to Radiotron. But other than that, you really didn't see it. You know, I'm trying to think where else they was breaking that. Turbo done a little bit, did a knee spin. At the end, close to the end of the movie, when they was all dressed in the tuxedo outfits, Turbo does a little bit there. But Turbo wasn't a b-boy.
Right.
Turbo was a popper, and they made him break.
What's the difference between a popper and a b-boy? Is it just compared to on 2 feet and being on the ground? Well,
breaking is more tops, drops, footwork, and freeze. Popping is popping the muscle, controlling the contrast of the muscles, of hitting the bicep, the tricep, the forearm, the chest, the neck, the legs.
Because I thought breaking was basically a mixture of all that.
Nah. So Mr. Wiggles calls it he called it the triple threat. So when he was in New York, he was doing a triple threat. He was doing breaking, he was doing popping, and he was doing locking. So he was doing it all, together, but they're actually separate dances.
Right.
So they're not the same. So people's like, oh, I can be popping. It's like, oh, you break dancing. I'm like, no, I'm popping. Because breaking was a East Coast thing, popping was a West Coast thing.
Really?
And so the story is, there's a guy from the Electric Boogaloo named Sugar Pop, traveled to New York, ends up meeting Mr. Wiggles. He teaches Mr. Wiggles how to pop. Mr. Wiggles goes back to the Sugar Pop goes back to the West Coast, and he's teaching people how to break. So when he was breaking in the West Coast, people was making fun of him because this is not what they do in the West Coast. And so there's actually documented footage of Sugar Pop breaking in the West Coast in the little bitty shorts and the windbreaker or tank top, breaking, I think it's at Venice Beach. And, people was drawn to it, but they didn't understand it.
Were those guys like the top guys back then, like the most known, Mr. Wiggles? And
Mr. Wiggles was, he was part of Rocksteady Crew in New York.
Okay.
And then Sugar Pop was part of the Electric Boogaloos that was in Cali, which was originally known as the original Electric Boogaloo Lockers.
So that was real. It wasn't just a part of the movie. That was actually a crew.
Yeah. So Sugar Pop was in Breaking.
Yeah. Well, because then I seen Breaking 2.
Sugar Pop was in that one.
Okay. But the name Electric Boogaloo that they had to that title, that's an actual crew, right?
It's an actual crew, but it has nothing to do with the movie.
I wonder why they took their name. That's kind of...
So, yeah, Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo had nothing to do with the movie because in that movie, they didn't know Boogaloo.
Oh, really? They just kind of took the name.
Yeah. So you had Ozone. He's a locker. He's from the original, I think he's third generation from the original lockers, the Camelot lockers, Don Campbell. Don Camelot had a crew called the Lockers, and they were the first generation, second generation. I think Shabadoo, which is Ozone, I think he was third generation.
Oh, okay. You would think that just me having no history in it at all, other than my mom did take me to a breakdancing class that was free at the library.
Okay.
So I grew up in the 90s, but like I was really young. I was born in 92. So mine was more of early 2000s, late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when You Got Served came out, and that was kind of like my breaking.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And when I seen that, I was like, I'm about to be a breakdancer.
Yeah. You Got Served was a dope outlet for, I guess, for the world to see, I would say.
What are your thoughts on it, though?
For me?
Yeah.
I was ecstatic because the B-boys in that movie, I actually break with.
Oh, really?
And so I was like, yo, I know that cat. I went to the jam with this cat. Like, I was ecstatic. I was like, yo, I get to see my friends break on the movie screen.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of B-boys in the U.S. that saw their friends on the screen, it was dope. You know,
I just feel like that style of, and you know, you can educate me on this, that style of breakdancing just, and I know that back in the 80s they were still working stuff out, you know, but man, night and day difference, I feel like. And just, I want to call it athleticism, but I mean, what they were doing with their bodies was insane in that movie. Compared to breaking,
they was just evolving a step. I mean, but breaking is breaking. Everybody that breaks, that you see break, all have the foundation of tops, drops, footwork, freeze. That is the skeleton. Like,
got you.
Anything outside of that, if you're doing other moves that's nothing has that foundation, we don't call it breaking. There's people that just won't do these things and they come out and just do a windmill and a flare, and we're like, yo, where's your breaking? Windmills and a flare and head spins, that's not the breaking part. The breaking part is understanding your tops and your drops to your footwork. That's more of the breaking aspect of it. The head spin and the windmills and the power moves, that was added towards, we say, the last portion of breaking. You know, when Crazy Legs invented the backspin, you know, he was trying to do a freeze and he fell into a backspin. And so there's a backspin invented.
Gotcha.
And that's just what the history's been told, that Crazy Legs invented the backspin, but no one really knows exactly who invented the backspin. But I'm trying to think, there was a post that someone posted that they figured out who invented the backspin. I just can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
And I think it's like maybe 8 or 9 months ago when I actually saw this post. But other than that, you know, 1990s, you know, that was done in movie Beat Street, one of my favorite movies. That's my Christmas movie. You know, it's Beat Street. It was shot in Christmas time. It was shot in New York. And there was a B-boy named Lee. He's on the stage and he does a 1990. I had no idea how to do that. And this is the time.
What is a 1990?
It's when you go upside down, you spin on one hand upside down.
Oh, shit.
It's a 90. If you put two hands down, it's called a 2000. So when I saw this movie, because when I first saw B Street, I was actually living in Japan when I saw this movie. So I didn't have any teachers. Most people that learn how to break don't really have any teachers. We're just learning from each other. I guess I could be a teacher. If you taught me something, you're my teacher, but you're not really my teacher. You're just showing me stuff. And so I'm living in Japan watching these movies, have no idea what the names are called. I'm just trying to do them and have no idea how to do them. And so I never learned them.
So you lived in Japan.
Right.
How long, so from the talent show, when did you end up in Japan?
My third grade year.
Oh, okay.
So I was there my third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade year.
And why did you guys move to Japan?
My dad was in the Marines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. How was that? How was living over there?
It was great.
Was it?
Like, when I moved over there and then I moved back to America, I didn't want to come back.
Really?
Once I saw the difference, because I've been gone for 3 years, and I come back and I'm like, it almost became foreign to me because I was so used to the custom over in Japan. But when I came back, we was 2 years ahead of everybody in school. I got to play the new Mario games, and
what would you say is different from there to America? Like, what made it so great?
For me personally, it was like being abroad, the culture of it,
Right.
Being open-minded to a lot of different things, the structure of how the school system was.
What makes their school system different than ours? Because I heard they're, I mean, like you said, a lot more ahead than what we are here.
How would I say it? For me, so when I went to school, I went to a school called Zuccoran Elementary. It was still American school. It's just the way they taught the classes.
Okay.
And how structured it was. And then I come here, back to America. The structure was similar, but the teaching wasn't the same.
Got you. And also, I feel like the culture over there is a little different than over here. You know, school is a real big part of their culture. You know, education.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but now you're looking at the two different dynamics. One's American school on base, and then you have the Japanese schools outside of base. So their structure and discipline was way different than the school I was going to.
Man, a lot more strict, I'm sure. Right. How was it over there? Well, I mean, were they in the 80s? Were they pretty accepting over there of Americans being there? Or?
Well,
like, did
you have to understand, I'm taking a point of view of a 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade year.
Right.
And, you know, so my perspective as a young kid over there, I thought everybody that was, you know, Japanese liked Americans. Mm-hmm. You know, so I didn't see any different.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I just saw everybody just chilling and getting along. And because when you go off base, you go shopping and they treat you very nice. How would I say it? You know, I got to do things that I wouldn't do over here, you know. You know, go see like the different castles in Japan that was around, learn the history of samurai soldiers and things of that nature. So I didn't have, I would say, that luxury here in America, but I got introduced to a lot of things over there. I don't think I would be into BMX biking if I was here. I don't think
is that big over there?
I don't think I would have got into skateboarding if I was here. I don't think I would have got into a lot of the MCs and rap songs if I was here. A lot of things open up for me over there. And then over here, and plus, people were sending us videos and VHS tapes from the United States to watch. This is what's going on in America.
Yeah, that's pretty neat, man. So why did you guys end up coming back?
My dad got stationed in South Carolina.
Got you. And so that's where you lived for how long?
2 years.
2 years? Mm-hmm. And then you ended up in, you said Texas?
So I'm originally from Texas. And so we always go back home to Texas.
Right.
But yeah, so my dad got stationed on a place and we would move back to Texas and we'd go somewhere else. And then
how was that as a kid?
Man, I loved it.
Did you?
Oh yeah, because I got to travel.
Right.
You know,
meet new people.
I used to say when I was younger, I had the most friends than anybody in the world.
Right.
You know, but fast forward later on in my life, I kind of understand that they wasn't really my friends. They were just people I went to school with for 2 years, and I moved and made some more friends. Then come to find out they really wasn't my friends because I didn't really know you.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid, everybody's your friend.
But I think it's a good experience, you know, for a kid to be, it's a good and a bad because you're uprooted all the time. You have to start over. But at the same time, that can help you as an adult. It just, there's pros and cons to it, you know, I'm sure.
I think that's why I'm way more open-minded than most people.
Right.
Because I got to travel. I got to see and explore and understand different cities, different lingos, different understandings. But one thing they had in common is that they always had a hood. They always had the suburbs.
Right.
You wasn't too far from, you know, seeing, like, how would I say it, the understanding and dynamics of different households. It kind of resonated in all 50 states.
Yeah. And countries kind of, right?
It's just done different or
Yeah.
said different. So your outlook, for me, if I hung out in, the neighborhood over here in South Carolina, I can pretty much go hang out in the same neighborhood in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we vibe is different. The lingo is different, Now I have like 8 different ways to say that's cool. And then I go to another state, I gather another 8. Now I have 16 different ways to say that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved it.
That's awesome. So how was high school years like? Like, were you still dancing? Was it getting pretty?
Oh man, I danced all through school.
Yeah, but that's getting older, getting to the height of it. I mean, that's kind of when it all started to come together, right? No,
it was already together.
It was already together.
I dance every year. That's one thing that I never gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Never gave up dance. Like dancing was my thing.
Mm-hmm.
People used to tell me, I was good at dancing. So they even made me dance even more.
Yeah.
I used to teach dance when I was 15. So I started teaching when I was 15. But it wasn't like a class setting. You know what I mean? So, but I would teach when I was 15. Didn't understand how to teach. I would just say, hey, do this and do it like me. I had a lot of things that happened, when I was dancing. So we'll go back to, let me see, 5th grade, 4th grade, I'm still learning how to dance, breaking from the VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to 6th grade, dancing saved me in the 6th grade because my 6th grade year, I got bullied, at school. If it wasn't for dance, I don't think I would have survived the 6th grade year.
How did that help you?
Because most of the dudes didn't dance. And then when we went to the school functions, I would dance and all the chicks wanted to dance with me.
Yeah.
And so the dudes was like, yo, you're pretty cool. Let's hang out with him because
teach us.
I got all they really wanted me to teach them. It was just the fact that
you brought the crowd.
I had the girls.
Yeah.
And then I had everyone at the school seeing how dope I was at dance that I got invited to go to a high school dance.
Oh, damn.
Just to go dance there. But other than that, once I figured out my 6th grade year that dancing changed my perspective, but it also saved me from being bullied, I definitely didn't let it go then. Dancing just kept me going.
Yeah, bullying is just a horrible thing, man. We've talked about it on the podcast with other guests, and you have to have something to get you away from that, like joining something. And I think some kids would rather just kind of like stay to themselves and like kind of hide in the home, but it's not good, man. You got to go out and join something, be a part of a community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because so when I started teaching when I was 15, I was living in California now. So at this time, gangs was at the high level, and I used to roll with a lot of different gangs. I used to roll with gangs, but at the same time, dancing was one of the things that separated me from that, because most people in gangs at this time, they wasn't dancing.
Yeah.
And so I like to dance. And all my friends that I met was dancers, but they live in different neighborhoods that had different gangs in them. And for me, I was able to walk through a lot of different neighborhoods only because they knew me as a dancer.
Right.
And that was the only reason why, like, oh, he's cool. He dances.
Yeah.
He doesn't bang. But I had friends in different gangs. I associate myself with certain gangs, but not like to the point where I wanted to join it.
Gotcha.
I'm like, yo, I'm cool with you.
Yeah.
But I like my freedom.
No, I get it.
I want to dance, and but dancing had its pros and cons. There was I already remember one of the guys from the group. His name was Marquise, and we had a talent show, and I helped choreograph this dance. And we did it to the remix of Come and Talk to Me by Jodeci. Mm-hmm. And it was a hit. And we won this talent show. And the winner of this talent show got to open up for Whitney Houston in Cali. So this is in Oceanside. And they snuffed me. Oh. So all the dancing that I helped them with, they used that I was part of. When they actually won the competition, well, technically when we all won the competition, they didn't tell me where the show was, the practice was, when it was going to be, because they got the information. They didn't share it with me. Yeah. So they went off and did it themselves. And that was, that didn't stop me from dancing, but it hurt me a lot. I'm like, man, that could have been my break. That could have been something, but they did it. But that's all it was. They didn't go anywhere else with it anymore. It was like, that was just it. It was done. But they wasn't really dancers. They was more of like popular kids in school, played football. Everyone knew them. But other than that, they wasn't really dancers. That's why they asked me to.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because I feel like at that time, I mean, dancing was big, right? At that time. Like, well, when you were kind of getting bullied, I mean, wasn't a lot of people trying to dance at that time?
It wasn't as
I feel like prominent. In all the movies, it was pretty popular.
But there wasn't really a lot of movies in the 90s of dancing.
Right. I mean,
I didn't watch a lot of movies in the 90s of dancing.
I guess maybe more 80s.
I was too busy in the streets dancing with my friends. So that's where I also learned how to. So I wasn't breaking at the time, but there was a dance style called house. Uh-huh. And so in Cali, there was a dance style called house, but it was like hip house. But they was doing things that I saw in breaking, and I'm like, this is similar to breaking.
They're just calling it something.
And they was like, well, I don't know what breaking is. So I went home and grabbed my VHS tape, and I brought it down to the YMCA. I said, yo, watch this. And so I showed them Beat Street. And it was like, oh, we don't do that. We do this. And I can see the difference, but there were similarities to different steps and different styles. But house dancing was not breaking, but they just had similar moves.
Can it get like that in the world of breakdancing, to where like it's a pretty big rivalry between different styles or different crews?
Oh, there was always crews.
Yeah.
I mean, the crews was like the best part, because it was like family. Because you had your B-boys, you had your graffiti writers, you had your MCs, and you had your DJs. So you had a full package. Even though some crews had poppers, they had females in the crew. So when you go battle, you match up. You're like, oh, you break? All right, we break. Oh, you got a popper? We got one too.
Right.
Oh, you brought out a girl? We got one too. So it was like, it just battle. But it was more like battling, like who's the best. Now people battle. It's like, oh, we're friends. Back then, it wasn't really friends. It was really? Yo, we're gonna battle you, and we're gonna wipe you off the map. We're gonna just destroy you. We're gonna kill you. we don't care who you are.
Yeah,
we're gonna battle. We're gonna get it done.
Yeah.
This day and age, people battle. They're friends in the beginning and they're friends at the end. Battles back then. There was some beef somewhere. At the end of the battle, we wasn't really cool. And sometimes there'd be a fight. Sometimes there'd be a fight in the middle of the battle.
Yeah.
Because it was really intense. They took it serious.
Do you think it's better that it gravitated towards what it is now, just on a, or do you miss that competition factor?
Well, that's the thing. So right now it's a competition. Back then, it was a battle.
Right.
There's a big difference than a battle and a competition. Mm-hmm. And a competition now, it's based off rounds. It's based off a timer. So you get like 30 to 45 seconds to do your round. And once you're done, that's it. A battle, there's no timer. Sometimes there's no music. If I catch you on, it was like, think about it. It was like a gang activity.
Yeah.
If I caught you on the street, I'm battling you then. I'm not going to wait to go to this park or this jam. You're going to get the business right now. So if I catch you on the corner and I step to you and I start battling you, you only have two options. Battle, or you just throw the white towel in and you defeat it and let everybody know you lost, and it's going to travel and your name is going to be tarnished because they're like, yo, why you didn't battle? You know, and you're in a crew, so now you make the crew looks bad. You know, so there was no competition back then. It was a straight raw battles, and it was serious. So that when I battle you, I'm not laughing. I'm not trying to be your friend right now. I'm trying to smoke you right now. And then when I get done smoking you, I still probably won't shake your hand because I'm going to leave because it was a battle. So a lot of people think breaking just came out of this magical box, but the understanding of that culture still came from gang activities that transpired into the hip hop world, because back then there was a peace treaty that happened with all the gangs in New York to actually get with the vibe of breaking, to have the parties and stuff like that, because you couldn't walk a block to another place and vibe out.
Altercation, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, they would take your vest and hang it up on the wall. Like, yo, I took such and such vest from this gang. Now we hang it up. Now, if you want your vest back, you got to go get your gang and come back. And
they were taking vests?
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like the motorcycle
right,
club world.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Cut sleeves was Hell's Angels. New York gangs adapted that from the Hell's Angels.
Really?
And so they had cut sleeves. And so the gangs in New York was wearing cut sleeves with the patches and the names and the
like
moniker.
The Warriors.
So
movie.
that was adopted from biker gangs.
Really?
From the Hell's Angels, transpired into the gangs. And then that gangs transpired into hip hop. And so hip hop kept that tradition, but now it's just your crew on the back, painted murals or something like that, representing your crew. But that was adopted from the gang era.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, so I still got my cut sleeves. I got one that was made by my homeboy that lives in Texas. I still rock mine. It has SugEasy has Souls of Souls on the top, has SugEasy on the bottom, which is my name, and then it has a B-boy in the background, whatever. So that was adopted into the hip hop culture. I have a friend named Alien Ness. He's a biker. They're called the Dirty Ones in New York. And a long time ago, he was explaining to me how you got to go to this. I'm not in that biker world like that, but there's like a big old chapter you have to go to get your biker's name and your group established so everybody knows who you are and stuff like that. And he took the leather vest and brought it over to hip hop, and they're known as the Mighty Zulu Kings. And they're the only hip hop breaking crew that are allowed to wear the vest with the name and the moniker on it, and no one asks them about their vest. So if you're heavily deep into the biker world, you're supposed to, you know about the Mighty Zulu Kings, and you know it's okay for them to wear their cut vests. And I don't know who he talked to, but
are they? I'm not sure either. I've heard of and I might be wrong as well, but there's I don't know what to call it, a federation or something like that. But guys that kind of they do big meetings between all the clubs and stuff like that.
So he had to go get the okay from.
And I don't know if there's different races have their own type of federations. I mean, because you know how the club world is, it's divided. Some are, some aren't. I've met some clubs that are mixed. But yeah, I don't know. Is the Zulu Kings, do they have any correlation with the Zulu Nation, like Africa Bambaataa?
Kind of.
Yeah.
The Zulu Nation and the Mighty Zulu Kings is a whole different entity, but a lot of people used to rock with Zulu Nation.
Yeah, because that was big. Like my dad introduced me to them, and Planet Rock, that was my shit.
African Bambaataa.
Yeah.
Persona Force.
Yeah, dude, that was a shit.
Yeah, so
Swordfish is dope.
So like the Mighty Zulu Nation was so that was based off of how that came about was, remember the movie Zulu?
Mm-mm.
So
I'll have to watch that. I'm taking notes, man. I'm about to watch this shit later on.
It was based off of an African tribe called Zulu, and that's how Zulu Nation was formed. He watched this movie. He liked how it was presented and how they ran things, and that's how Zulu Nation was born. So Zulu came from a movie called Zulu.
Got you. And what stuck out between Zulu and Zulu? Like, what were they doing over there? Just
the way they did was how would I say it?
Like the structure. Yeah.
And the understanding. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of documentaries out on that, man. Like, just how popular that was, back then, man. And it was so different, it was such a different sound, man. And I heard they, just like a lot of records, taking samples from other albums and stuff like that to piece that together. But at the time, they were saying like they had never heard that before. And like when he's during one of the songs on Planet Rock, he's like, z z z z z. Yeah, he said that happened because he kept forgetting his lyrics, and they were like, and he started making that sound. They're like, "Hey man, keep that in."
Right.
And that's the cool. Like when you dig, like that's kind of how my mind is, man. Like I just like seeing those little details because like that could have been so not seen by some people. And when you're listening to the song, you're just like, oh, man, that's dope.
Right.
But just to see where it originated from, you're like, damn, they could have just looked past that and scratched it. And now that was a pretty big portion of the song. Like people know that part, you know what I mean? So iconic.
So, I know you're talking, so we're still talking about hip hop and we'll just go a little past that. So you say you keep digging. So let me give you another gem. Mm-hmm. James Brown is the #1 producer of hip hop music.
Really?
The reason why, and we say that is because James Brown was the most sampled person in hip hop music for a long time.
Sampling as like they used his
beats, they used his voice, they used the drum patterns,
the rhythm.
So a lot of songs was originated from some James Brown sample. Mm-hmm. So most people will say James Brown is the original producer of hip hop music because they use a lot of his stuff.
Really? Did blues play a big factor with hip hop as well, or no? That's completely different because I love the blues. Like I'm a big B.B. King fan.
But if you think about blues, they was rapping too.
That's what I'm saying. It was a story.
Right.
Because
the lingo back then, yo, young blood, let me rap to you. Let me speak to you. Let me in your ears so I can give you this knowledge real quick. Let me break this down for you. That was like the word. Let me rap to you. So.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, it is. So how was it after school, man? Like how did you transition into what you're doing now? Like, was there some time in between that after you got out of high school? Like, how long before you're like, hey, I want to be a teacher? I guess to start with, like, you were probably doing events and stuff like that. Like, do they have breakdancing, like big, like what are some of the big events that like are the Olympics of what you guys do?
So the biggest one in the United States is called Freestyle Session. I mean, you can YouTube Freestyle Session battles.
Right.
So yeah, Freestyle Session, you had Pro-Am, you had B-Boy Summit. Those were like the 3 biggest battles, communities and cultures in the United States at the time.
Mm-hmm. Pretty hard to get to those.
But you had, one was in Florida, one was in Cali.
I mean, to actually be a participant in those.
No, you just go.
Oh, really?
Just go sign up.
Go sign up.
You just
Have
go
you
to
done any of those?
Just go to the jam and then you just sign up.
Yeah.
I've done B-Boy Summit. When I went to B-Boy Masters Pro-Am in Florida, I was just there, spectator, vibing out. I did some off battles on the side. I battled a dude named B-Boy Energetic. And we were sitting there having a conversation. I was like, yo, let me test my skills. You know, where I'm from, I'm dope. But I want to see how good I am. Yeah. I got smoked 5 rounds. Like, I didn't win not 1 round. I got smoked.
Oh, you guys go rounds.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We just, like I said, when you battle, there's no cap. You just going.
Until one throws the white flag.
Yeah, I threw the white flag after 5. I was like, yo, I am not winning none of this. I was like, okay, I see how good I am. I need to go back to the drawing board and
I bet you learned a lot
and practice on my craft, you know. But yeah, I knew then that I wasn't dope as I thought I was in breaking, you know. So
some people just have it, just gifted with it.
No, it's called training.
But a little bit of, I feel like it's a mix. Training, and some people just have that ability. You know what I mean?
Right. But if you want to say,
be at the very top level, I'm not saying people can't learn how to break.
Okay.
But to be at, like, who's in your eyes, like, top 3 or top 2 big?
Man, that's across the board. You know. Yeah. It's a opinion.
Or who's the known, like, everybody knows this guy. You know.
I can just give you a list. You know, like right now, my homeboy Victor representing the Olympics this year.
They have it in the Olympics. I didn't know that.
So breaking's going to the Olympics in Paris.
Damn.
And so he's representing the U.S. You know, my boy Victor. Everyone knows Victor, but I can't say everyone. Most people in our culture in breaking knows Victor. You know, I got a homeboy named Jeffrey that lives out in Texas. I mean, so many people. You got Remind from Style Elements. You got my homeboy Why Not. You have Alien Nest I was speaking about earlier. I'm trying to think. Mr. Wiggles. He was a b-boy, but he's known as a popper mostly now.
They talked about a guy named Crazy Legs.
Crazy Legs was the president of Rocksteady Crew.
He was in Breaking, right? Or no?
He was in B Street.
Oh, okay.
So he used to be under this guy named JoJo from Rocksteady Crew, and JoJo gave the reins to Crazy Legs to run Rocksteady Crew. But Crazy Legs was a very well-known b-boy. He was in that movie, was it Flashdance?
Oh, yeah.
When he was dancing in the alley.
Okay.
Him and...
they actually used a double for her when she started breakdancing, because I think she breakdanced in the movie.
Yeah. And
it's actually a guy doing it, because she couldn't...
I'm trying to remember who was in the movie. It was... Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. I know it's Crazy Legs and the white dude. He was also part of Rocksteady too. So
he was a b-boy as well.
Yeah, you about to Google it?
No, I'm about to Google it, man. That's the beautiful thing.
I'm trying to think what his name is.
Flashdance b-boys. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a Jamie here to look stuff up for me, so I got to do it.
I know it's going to come to me.
Marine Jahan. They said he was the body double for the dancing scenes.
What was his name?
I don't remember. Or I can't find it.
If you once you type dancers in,
it just says Crazy Legs is one of them. His name is Richard Cologne.
Right. What was the other one?
It doesn't. It only has him on here.
Oh.
Let me see.
It's gonna come to me. I just know it because he actually moved. What is his name?
I don't know. We'll figure. I'm sure it'll come to you at some point.
I know. I'm like, now I want to Google it and figure it out.
It'll come to you at some point.
Breakers. and
Flashdance.
Flashdance.
Yeah, I only seen the Crazy Legs pop up. They talked about that guy a lot, man. Like, I guess he was pretty big deal back then.
Let's see. Movie contains celebrity sequence with Jeff Bell, Carmen the Croc, B-Boy. Frosty Freeze was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Frosty Freeze passed away many years ago. He was in there. And I'm trying to remember the dude that had the umbrella.
Somebody put it in the comments.
Let me see. Frosty Freeze. Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Everybody was Freeze back then. Huh?
So Mr. Freeze was his name. He was the one that did the popped out the umbrella and then the backslide.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze.
Okay. Damn.
I knew it began with the M. I was like, Mr. Freeze.
Hey man, it happens. I get it too. So then going from that to what we're talking about, so how long before you decided you wanted to like what happens in between that time period of you opening up your school and
so let's see. So I graduated in 97. I was gonna go to the military. I was gonna be a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided I didn't want to. Like I went to the ASVAB and did all that stuff, you know, and the duck walk and, you know, everything you get ready to swear in. And then I started thinking about like not hanging out with my friends, not seeing family, and I won't get to do nothing for like 3 months. And I was like, nah, I ain't going, you know. And so in between there, I was still dancing. I was still going to clubs. I was still dancing against people.
do you feel like if it would have changed everything to where you're at now?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think like, you know, whatever path I took, I think if I went to the Marines, I think my outlook in dancing probably would have shifted. And the path I took now, you know, it made me who I was. I know a lot of people say they regret certain things. You know, I regret not doing this and I regret not doing that. For me, I was happy with the turnout that I am now, with the trials and tribulations that I had to go through and understand and sacrifice, and
it molded who you are today.
Right. And so I just think that was my plan.
It's very hard to get over the past. I think a lot of people deal with that, you know, me included.
Mm-hmm.
Regrets is a big thing. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, like you got to get over that. You know, you got to keep moving on. You're at where you're at because that's where you were supposed to go.
You know, if I would have done this, you know, don't get me wrong. You know, I thought about like, man, if I'd have done this, I would probably be doing dance.
Yeah. And
then I go, I don't care. Now I'm doing dance. I do what I love to do versus probably doing something that I didn't love to do at all.
Yeah. Living in the past only limits you because you're not looking towards the future. You're just looking back all the time. Should have done this. Should have did that. Right. I would have been here. I would have had that, you know?
So to answer your question about teaching, like I said, I started teaching when I was 15.
Yeah.
My homeboy, Mickey, actually got me into teaching classes. Mm-hmm. And it was the worst experience ever. And so I'm teaching a class, but I'm taking my street understanding. Now I'm in a studio setting. Mm-hmm. Now the studio setting ain't like the streets. Mm-hmm. They have counts. They have a structure. They have the ways you should teach it. And I'm like, do this. Do it like this. Here. And then the kids are like, so what number is this? How do we actually do this? What's the step? What's the name of it? And I start freaking out. My palms start sweating and I'm bugging out. And my homeboy goes, just go have a seat. I'll finish class. So he tells me to sit down so he can teach the class, because I had no idea what these people was asking me and why they was asking me. And I'm just like, just do this. And just because you're a good dancer doesn't mean you know how to teach.
Oh, yeah. And anything, it's like that. Just because you're good at something don't mean you're good at teaching it.
I didn't know how to teach.
Yeah.
And so, and I got into it for this reason. I'm sorry, hit the mic. Good. For this reason is my homeboy's like, yo, you should learn how to teach dance and call yourself a choreographer because you get all these girls. And I was like, what? Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then, so that's pretty much what was like the biggest thing of teaching. Yeah. But then I started teaching and started understanding how to teach. I would watch other teachers teach. I would go into a ballet room and see how they would teach. I would go into a tap room, see how they teach. I would go into a jazz room, see how they teach. And I would take notes. I would do this. I won't do that. I would say this. I won't say that. So I started to develop how to teach and understand it and how to deliver it, how to give a vocabulary, how to break it down to explain it.
I bet it heightened or it advanced your dancing skills as well, because teaching sometimes can unlock new doors of that you wouldn't have seen if you were just stuck actually doing the moves. Like I've heard, like I do jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So I heard when guys transition from competing to coaching that want to coach, teaching can advance their game a lot more because it kind of opens up their mind and you're explaining things more. You're having to look at things a little differently from an outside perspective. Mm-hmm. And I've never coached, so it would be better to ask somebody who does, but that's kind of how it's been explained to me. It advanced their game because it kind of unlocks new ways of
you have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And then you have a different understanding of the technique and how to deliver it.
You're right.
So I got into teaching and I fell in love with teaching. A couple of reasons. One, seeing the youth grow was one. I fell in love with teaching because around this time, I had my oldest daughter. At the time she was young. You know, her mom was very what's the word? Controlling, we would say. And me teaching the youth was like me teaching my kids. So I started treating these kids as if it was my kids because I couldn't see my kid.
Yeah.
You know, so I became, these are my kids. Mm-hmm. And so that was another reason why I taught. But like I said, watching them grow into an experience and how they changed their confidence and how they changed their understanding of life. Because I always taught life lessons in my teaching. Mm-hmm. And watching them go out and do other things like get into sports or get into acting or get into modeling, you know, came from me teaching. But the longer I taught, I started to understand you can't be a teacher unless you're a student. Mm-hmm. So I always kept that student aspect of being a teacher because I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know more knowledge. I want to learn understanding. I want to learn where this move came from. I want to know the history of this. So when I'm teaching, I can break that down versus like do this dance step and that's it.
Right. Okay. So then what happens after you deal with kind of having that moment to where your buddy stepped in to take over? You went off.
No, we were still friends. We were still best friends.
No, but like you went out. You're like, I'm going to get better at this because I don't want to end up in this situation again.
Hell yeah. I was like, not. Yeah. So after that, this is what I wished at the time, that people would have told me, you're not ready to teach. Learn how to teach, then go teach.
You don't think sometimes like baptism by fire is a good thing? Kind of be thrown to the wolves?
It is. But you'll struggle.
I agree.
A lot.
I agree.
You
learn quick, but you struggle. It's embarrassing.
You'll find it real quick. You're like, oh man. But you know, like for me today, if I see a guy that wants to teach, I'm like, no, you're not ready. Mm-hmm. I will tell him now, I'm like, yo, you're not ready to teach. Mm-hmm. Shout on me or intern or go find a teacher that you like their style. And see how they teach. Get the understanding of teaching. Just because you can dance or you learn some moves don't mean you can teach a whole class. You need material. You need information to teach a class. And so...
And structure, right?
Like you need all that. Mm-hmm. And so like I said, I got hired to do workshops and teach classes, and I got to travel with it to the point where my friend Mickey at the time was like, "Hey, do you have anything you're gonna teach?" "Oh yeah, man, I got something." I ain't have shit. And so I teach the younger class, he teaches the older class, and then we have a break, and then we go to where we're staying, and then he goes, "All right, let's see what you got, work on something." So I'm trying to put something together like he does it. It's not working. I was like, you know what, man? I'm going to take a nap. So I went to sleep. So then we go back to teach the rest of the class. I had no material whatsoever. I'm just like, yo, how's this going to work? So Mickey teaches first, and then I teach second. And I remember I started to put something together, and I would teach it to the class. I was like, all right, run this. And I will go to the side of the classroom, and I'll put something else together. And then I come back. I'm like, all right, take that first part and add it to this part. So I'll do another 8 count. Mm-hmm. And then I will go off to the side. I'll make them run that 8 count over and over and over again. Those 2 8 counts. I come back, do another 8 count. By the time I was an hour and a half, hour and 15, Mickey had fell asleep while I was teaching. He woke up. I had a full-blown routine.
Oh, shit.
And he was like, how'd you do that? I was like, I don't know, man. I just took my understanding of how I dance and figure out how to break it down in counts.
Yeah.
And I would just teach it. And so the studio that I taught that for was Releve. It was a Lake of the Ozarks. My friend Kim used to own the studio. And we took that dance to dance competitions, and we was cleaning house.
Really?
First place here, first place there, first place here. Best outfit, good music. And I was like, I can do this. You know, I can rock this. And so I took that teaching understanding and I used it. And then once I ran with that, then I started to be more of a student in learning how to teach better.
And so where was that at? Where were you guys teaching at?
So this is the workshop we did at the Lake of the Ozarks.
Oh,
it was,
okay.
So, like I said, it was called Releve, ran by my friend Kim Sylvie at the time. Her last name it changed. She got married a long time ago, but yeah, we got to travel and teach at different studios. They call them workshops. Back then, you know, I call them workshops, but they was calling them master classes. You know,
gotcha.
I'm like, you know,
fancy title.
You can't. There's no master in this.
Yeah.
Now, master is when you go to a dojo in Japan.
Yeah.
That's a master. That's the sensei. We're just teachers, you know, doing workshops. You know, you can't really master dance.
Gotcha.
It keeps evolving.
Yeah, and even the same way with those guys in the dojos. I mean, masters, but if you talk to a lot of them, things still evolve as years go on. They still learn, you know. But yeah, man, that's pretty cool, man. So you started getting the hang of it. Sounds like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What happens after that?
Oh, keep teaching.
Keep teaching.
So I was teaching in Kansas City for over about 20 plus years, but I was teaching at different studios. Here and there. I was teaching at multiple studios to make the ends meet.
Is this your full time job at the time, or were you kind of just...
Well, I was teaching mostly dance, but I had like I worked for Sprint, you know, and I go teach dance, but dancing was full time. Once I actually quit Sprint, I mean, dancing was straight full time.
Oh, gotcha.
And the thing was with dancing being full time and traveling with it, I didn't want to do anything else.
Right. I don't blame you.
You know,
do what you love.
I didn't want to do nothing else. But it got me to explore different things and teach at different studios and see how their structure was. But yeah, I think I missed your question. What was the question again?
Where did it lead up to?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So dance. So 2000-ish, dance took me on tour. I toured the band called Pomeroy.
Oh, okay.
And so I went on tour with them. I danced with them for about 12 years.
How was that?
And it was dope.
Wow.
It was dope. You know, it was something new. You know, they was like, hey, they came to a b-boy battle that was at the Bottleneck in Lawrence. They saw me dance. I didn't win the battle, but they liked what I was doing. So they asked me if I wanted to dance for one of the shows. Uh-huh. And then I did my first show at the Bottleneck. And they was like, yeah, just come out and dance to any song you want to. Mm-hmm. I don't know none of these songs, but I still came out and I rocked the song, and people thought I knew the song. Mm-hmm. But it was just the natural ability to understand music, how to dance to it, and just get busy. And then it was like, all right, we have a show in Manhattan, Kansas. You want to go there? Oh, yeah, sure. And I'm dancing to like, we'll say the song is a 15 set list. I'm dancing to like 12 because I don't know what song to dance or not dance to. After a while, I started to adjust. Then I started bringing my friends along. Like, hey, yo, Bill, you want to do this show with me? First, it was my homeboy James, and it was my homeboy Bill. And they was like, don't bring Bill back ever again. And then, and then it was my homeboy Mickey. And so Mickey toured with me for a long time.
That's awesome.
But this opened up doors for me to do and share the stages with other artists like Nelly, Jagged Edge, 112, Blink 182, Neo. I'm trying to think. The Urge at the time, Two Skinny J's, Smash Mouth. You know, the list goes on.
So sharing the stage, you mean meeting these people or actually doing like work with them?
So this is where it gets tricky for most people. I hear people all the time that go, yo, I did a show with this person. As you notice that I worded it different when I said I shared the stage with this artist. I never said I danced with this artist.
Yeah.
But depending on which artist, they would ask me to come out and do something in their set. Mm. Oh, we saw you breaking in your show. Can you come and do that for our show? I'm like, cool, whatever. I'm down. But even though, that's why I say I shared the stage with the artist. Mm. I didn't perform for the artist. I know a lot of people that dance, just in this area that would go, I danced with such and such. I'm like, no, you didn't. You shared the stage with that person because they asked you to perform, or they saw you in a crowd and go, hey, there's B-boys. Come on stage and rock. But on their resume, I performed for such and such. And I'm like, nah, you shared the stage with such and such.
Got you.
You know,
what's the difference between sharing the stage and that perspective and like a backup dancer type? You know how
you get paid.
You know how Beyonce has like guys in the background,
you get paid,
girls dancing.
You're on that bill. You're on that tour. You're with that artist.
Oh, okay.
So you get that's a paid gig.
And on the other hand, it's just a favor.
Right. So if you had a show,
I guess exposure though, you're getting exposure.
Well, if you had a show and our band headlined for your show, right? I danced for my band. But you had a show. Matter of fact, let me just switch it. We'll go with The Urge. Mm-hmm. Steve Ewing was like, yo, you and your homeboy come dance on this song on our show. Okay, whatever. And so he'd be like, yo, we got Mickey and Suge from Pomeroy. They're going to get busy. And we just get down. And it brings an extra element to their show. And the crowd is just feeding off of it.
Right.
But they saw us before, but we are with them, so it looks like we're with them, but we're not with them. But they will also say, we got such and such from this band, they're going to get busy. And that's sharing the stage.
Would some of them take care of you, though? Like maybe take you out or throw you a little cash here and there? No?
Nah.
Really?
They don't give you no money.
Damn, you think they'd be, like a little just like thankful, like, hey, man, here's couple $100 or something, you know what I mean?
Man, none of those artists gave you no money, man.
Why do you think it's like that? Just cutthroat?
Nah, it was just love.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, love, I feel like would be like taking the time out of your day to, help somebody out.
Well,
like, hey, man.
we already got paid. Our band got paid.
I guess you're there already.
Yeah, we're already there.
Because I guess in that concert, there's multiple people playing, like different artists and bands.
Like sharing the stage with, with Neo, sharing the stage with Blink-182, and sharing the stage with, LL Cool J. And people's like, they don't have no dancers. I'm like, you're right. They don't have any dancers. Mm-hmm. I just got to do a little bit on stage.
Gotcha.
And that's it. I'm not part of their bill. I'm not part of their entourage. I'm not part of getting paid. It's just like, yo, you want to rock? Cool. I mean, KRS-One. We rock for KRS-One. We got the B-Boys live in the building. Let's give him some love. Come on stage and get down. So we get there. He give us a spotlight and we just rocking. Yeah. Then he's freestyling. The B-Boys getting down, rocking the breaks, blah, blah, whatever he's saying. And we just out there, And then we get done. Give it up for the B-Boys, representing the culture, blah, blah, blah. And then we go off stage. And then we go back to the crowd and we get busy again.
I guess that's a payment in itself, right? Like you said.
Of course, you get the knowledge.
Yeah.
You get a knowledge of, because if you look at it, some of these people appreciated the culture and the style of breaking. So they was like, I appreciate it. Come on stage and rock again, or rock with us.
Gotcha.
Give us, it's not like give me street cred. It's just like, we appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Let's give it some more love and come on stage and get busy.
So after you come back of doing touring for a while, is that when you start to open up your...
No, I was still teaching at different studios. Mm-hmm. But even when I was on tour with the band, I was still come back and I would still teach because it was my job. And at some of these studios, I was the only hip hop teacher. Right. So I would go on tour, and depending where we was at, I would come back that same day. But it was mostly on the weekend. But it also depended on what day during the week, because they toured like 20-some days during the month. And then, I would come back, as fast as I can to go back and teach classes, whatever. But I didn't open up Break Free until 2019.
Oh, okay.
So I was still
not fairly new, but
yeah. So we've been around for like 5 years.
Yeah.
But that came to the point where I got tired of teaching for people. And then not only that, they didn't give the hip hop the respect that it needed. It wasn't, when you walk into a place, you didn't feel hip hop. It just felt like a building, and it just mostly ballet. So if you try to structure something around hip hop, it was like kicked to the bottom of the totem pole.
What makes it feel more hip hop when you walk into your spot?
Oh, shoot. When you walk in, the atmosphere already is hip hop. I got hip hop artifacts. I got hip hop books. I got hip hop videos playing. I got a see-through floor with hip hop posters in it. I got the DJ room. There's graffiti all over the place. Yeah. The walls is just blasting with colors and stuff, paint here and there. So I have people that come in that are real hip hop heads and go, yo, I feel at home. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to belong here. I have people from the suburbs, they walk in, they go, this is a cool place. I understand the hip hop vibe.
Dude, the setting is everything, man.
And so that's the thing, when they come in, it's not like you just walk into a room that has a bunch of white walls and a floor and the mirrors and I'm just playing music.
Yep.
You walk in, you get the essence of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like that's what it is with everything. Like, if you're gonna, like, even here right now, we're not in like a cool building downtown. It'd be nice, but at least I wanted to make it to where when someone comes here, it has a cool vibe to it. You know what I mean? And that's what I try to create, because it's everything, man. I mean, could you imagine walking in here and talking to me and all white walls and just weird, what I mean?
The vibe would be different.
Yeah, it feels like a weird interview for a job. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really relax and,
Yeah. When I came in here, I was like, okay, it's cool. You
Yeah.
know, got everything is set up really nice, you know.
Yeah, you know. And that's what I want. I want it to be like a relaxed feel to it. Just like when someone walks into your school and they're like, oh, we're here to do hip hop. Like, we're here to break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the feel you get. Not like I walk into somewhere and like, damn, I'm about to do a job interview, or man, I feel like.
But I also dress the part to be the part. You know, you're not walking in getting no fake facade of what hip hop is. Like when you walk in, you see me, you know, I'm hip hop. There's no faking the funk whatsoever. But also at my studio, what makes people feel like they're part of the culture itself is that we promote community.
Right.
You know, you can't have a community without unity. You know, that's in the word by itself. Unity.
I've seen you talk about that a lot, about kind of bringing together different races, and like you want to bring different economic statuses. Like you don't target one specific person. You want everybody to come learn.
Yeah.
And be a community together. And because if you're under hip hop, what you're trying to teach, like it doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, you know, you're just coming to learn this.
I mean, the 3-part saying is called peace, love, and unity. You know, if you can't create peace and if you can't create the love and the unity, you know, you don't have a community.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people downplayed me for a while. Some of them still do, because I'm teaching hip hop, but it's not in the hood. It's not in the city.
Right.
You know, oh, you teaching hip hop in the suburbs. And I'm just like, yeah, education, everybody needs it. It's free. You know, if I go teach it to all the black youth, you know, most of them think they already know it already. Most of them don't really care. And most of them, you know, they don't think breaking is hip hop, you know? And so then when I go to the suburbs, they think they know hip hop and they think they understand this. And then when they come to a place like mine, they're like, I don't know any of this. And I even tell my parents now, I'm like, yo, you want to learn hip hop? You at a hip hop school, but this is not just a studio. It's a school. So I'm not just going to educate your kids. I'm educating you at the same time. So you understand the culture, why you in it, why we do what we do, why we have the lingo, what are the 9 pillars of hip hop. So when you go talk to your friends in the suburbs, you can explain the culture to them and the positivity and understanding of the community that I'm cultivating.
Yeah, because I'm sure you probably get a lot of like skeptical eyes, I'm sure, when they see your school, because they just don't know what it is. Everybody knows ballet, everybody knows dance, like in that category. But I feel like this has always kind of been more underground, you know, and it sounds like it's coming more to the mainstream. Like you're trying to bring it more to light and show that everybody can do this.
Well, hip hop has already been in the mainstream for a long time, you know, but the understanding underneath the word hip hop is what people are missing. You know, hip hop is just this. I'm like, nah, it's more than that. Hip hop is a culture itself. Hip hop is a movement itself. It's not just a dance, you know, and people miss those cues. And so when they come to the studio, they're like, oh, there's a lot more to this than what I thought. Oh, yeah, there's a way lot more to this what you thought. What you thought it was is what you saw on the news or what you saw in the video. Yeah. That's what you thought hip hop was. You thought you gonna walk in and have a Kango on with a gold chain and gold teeth, and I'm gonna be talking to you like, yo, what's up, B? You know, just like that. And so, and then you think it's negative because you're tying in with cars with rims and dope dealers and people carrying guns, and you see that. And I have to show you the other side of that, the light of it, not the dark side. I need to show you the light and understanding where we are and how those people come to this side and see the positivity of it. Because, hip hop was never created to be negative.
Yeah, I was about to say, like the Sugar Hill Gang and all that. Like,
Yeah.
weren't they? It was more of a positive side to it.
It was a positive side, but Sugar Hill Gang, you know, they're cool, but you know, they stole lyrics.
Oh shit! Yeah,
you know, but
that happens a lot.
We get into that, yeah. So I know the dude that they stole the lyrics from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So these people are still around. So I go to New York every summer.
Mm-hmm.
I travel to New York as much as I can. When I go in the summer, it's more for the. I take classes, and I get to meet the pioneers of some of these eras, and you know, I get to rock with Kool Herc, I get to rock with Grandmaster Cash, I get to rock with you know, who I'm thinking of. I'm trying to think of some older MCs and some DJs like DJ Scratch, DJ Hollywood, DJ Red Alert. You know, I'm trying to think. There's so many names I could just drop.
No, I get it. You can't get them all.
Nah, I can't get it. I meet people every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back then there was a legendary crew. Back then, you know, when I teach students about breaking, we'll go over some names. There's like a bunch of names that legendary dancers. They was called at the time, they was called the Nigga Twins. They don't like that name anymore. So now they go by the Legendary Twins. Mm-hmm. So they changed their name because not everybody can say that.
Yeah.
So they go by the Legendary Twins.
Yeah.
Because when I met them in New York years ago, I was like, yo, it's the... Yeah. They was like, nah, we don't go by that name no more. We go by this. And I was like, oh, my bad. I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, at this time, I never met him. This was my first time meeting him. It was like, yo, I actually get to meet these two dudes I used to read about and hear about. Mm-hmm. You know, I met him at Crotona Park in the Bronx. So that was dope.
What are you going to school there to learn? Just the history and?
Oh, I take classes. So I take breaking, I take hip hop, I take house. Depending on who the teacher is, there might be some popping, there's some locking.
That's pretty cool that you never gave up the student side of it. You're still a student of the game.
I have notebooks.
And it sounds like you'll never stop.
Of notes.
Yeah.
Nah.
Like because being a student, you'll never stop.
The education is what, how would I say it? The education is what prevails the hip hop culture. Mm-hmm. Because without the education, nobody knows what it extended from and how it got to where it got to now.
Knowledge is power, man.
So, but I just don't teach in my studio, at my school, I should say. I give lectures at colleges.
Oh, do you?
And I give lectures to the FBI.
Really?
So, like
the FBI.
Yeah.
Why do you give lectures to them? Just kind of informing them on.
Well, they need the understanding. They need the knowledge. They need to know how to incorporate themselves with the community,
right? Versus
having their point of view, what it is.
Yeah.
You know, just hip hop culture itself. And so there's an understanding that connects. And so when I give a lecture, it's a very unorthodox lecture. Mm-hmm. So we talk about some things, but I also have them ask me questions, and I can pinpoint the answer to the question that they want to go to, and then I will steer them to a place they can get that information from, and keep building on it. You know, the understanding of like hip hop music to hip hop dress to hip hop lingo, where it started, how it started, the difference between the positive part and the negative part, what they see as negative, and I can be like, that's not negative. Your perspective is that. Mm-hmm. Going back to what you see, what you hear, and how you change the narratives to fit you. But it was like, oh, that's bad. Like, why is it bad? But your perspective and the narrative you fit why it's bad, it's because something you've seen somewhere else and you tie it in with that some way, shape, or form, because that was bad. So this is similar, so it has to be bad.
That's cool that you're doing that, because that's kind of where a lot of, when bad things happen or feuds, it's usually because one party doesn't understand the other party.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's nice for guys like you that are kind of bridging that gap.
Yeah.
You know,
because the understanding is key. Mm-hmm. Understanding why they do that. Mm-hmm. Most of them, I can't say all because I don't know all the FBIs, but right. Most of them don't take the time to go in the culture and ask questions.
For sure.
They don't take the time.
Some probably don't want to know.
Indulge yourself in the culture and just be in the midst of it, mm-hmm. and just see how they rock and how they function, and then see like, yo, this is not bad. I see why they do this. Now I understand why they do it. Because you can see why they do it, but the understanding part is what you get. And then once you understand it, you don't see it the negative way anymore. Your perspective has changed. And then you start to learn more. You want to learn more. Once you get understanding, you want to learn more. It's just weird. When you understand something, you're like, okay, I want to dig deeper in that because I understand this part. How deep does it go?
That's cool. At least they have you to do that, because FBI doesn't want my perspective on them.
Well, there was times that, you know, I said something about the FBI in front of the FBI that my perspective, you know, there was some, but they accept what I said. That's because good. It's my perspective and what I see and how they view hip hop. And I explained to them, you know, my perspective of like how you guys are.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's my thing, man, is that with all these alphabet agencies, it's not that I have a thing against all of them, because I know there's good people in them.
For sure.
My thing is the things have been exposed that they've done. And it may be either the guys at the top of those organizations, but sometimes, just like in everything, whether it be military, government, you know, these agencies or whatever, there's a propaganda pushed on what they want to do and what they're actually doing. You know what I mean? So that's my issue with it. And it's to the point to where, like, I'm like, man, you know, it's upsetting because they do good. You know, I'm not going to say the FBI doesn't do good. They do a lot of good things. I'm sure they solve a lot of cases that without them wouldn't have been solved, you know, but at the same time, they're responsible for a lot of bad things too, that we know throughout history, you know, CIA, FBI, you know, all of them. And I understand that things aren't perfect, but some of those things were malicious, you know, and intended to be done, you know, and even in hip hop, we know that, I mean, there was letters sent to NWA from the FBI, you know, threatening them, you know, you know, basically threatening their free speech, you know, trying to cut them off from what they were doing. Right. But yet saying that we live in America, the land of the free. That doesn't sound very free to me.
But then allegedly, they was told by certain part of the government, this is going to be your agenda to push this message anyway.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
You know, like saying like I said, allegedly, you know, I just found this information out a couple months ago.
Like they wanted
NWA to push the message about like dope and gang violence and stuff like that. Yes.
So help me understand this, because I've been on the wall about that. I loved NWA back in the day. Big Ice Cube fan. You know, I mean, shit, because that was not necessarily my time period, but my parents. So I had all those tapes, actual cassette tapes back then. You know, even my mom, she had like mixtapes. My dad, they, you know, you had to write down the names of the songs on the tape, and I had that box, and I used to just listen to them all the time. Cypress Hill, NWA, Tupac, Biggie, very influential in my life. When I was younger, and I only grew up in the hood at the time till about middle elementary school, and my parents moved me up north. You know, schools are losing accreditation, getting bad down there. a lot of families, don't want to stay down there. It's just where they start, and they want to move to a better neighborhood. So that helped, but, still having family down there, I was back and forth, hanging around crowds like that. Like you said, I was around gangs, people in gangs, wasn't necessarily a part of one, tried to be the part, tried to act a part. When you're young, you try to act hard. It's more of, for some people, it's real. Some people, it's a facade. Me, it was more of a facade. I tried to be that, and deep down, that wasn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
But as an older man now, looking back and still loving that music, still bumping it when I work out, but I look at it differently now. And not all of it, but if we're going to use NWA as a reference, I understand them pushing the music and explaining what they're going through. But at the same time, I see as an older man how influential that can be for a 12-year-old, 15-year-old kid to listen to and be mesmerized by that life and gravitate to that.
Right. If you look at it from this perspective, back then, no matter what album came out that was like raw like that, they pushed the dope message, but they also pushed, there was a positive message on the same album. So sometimes you can be conflicted.
That's what I'm saying. So I feel like they weren't intentionally pushing the negative to make people do that. They were more of just like, this is what we're around. This is what it is. It's fucking raw. Like, this is what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? This is what I seen growing up, or this is what I'm doing, and you can't blame them for that. I mean,
it was their story.
Yeah, their story. Just like rock and roll, heavy metal music. You know what I mean? I mean, shit gets wild, and they have their own.
But most people in heavy metal wouldn't tell them a story.
Right.
They wouldn't tell them about their life.
But they were punching each other in the crowd and shit and, going all crazy. Like everybody. I mean, think about when Elvis Presley came out. I mean, and girls were going crazy and
but he stole somebody's style.
No, I get that. But I mean, like, not only hip hop, but other genres also have their, I don't want to say bad side to it, but more of a controversial side, right?
Yeah, I get to the controversial side, but the only different dynamic is in hip hop, they was telling you about their lifestyle, where they live, and how they grew up, or what the struggle was, or painting you a picture of like, we live this every day,
But we were talking about, the government seen that as a tool to push that and to possibly hurt, targeting the inner city, right?
See, now you're going down a different rabbit hole.
I thought that's where you were going down. That's how I was trying to we were talking about conspiracies earlier. I told you it was going to wrap it back around.
That's like a different rabbit hole because like, if you notice, like in the late 80s up until like, I don't want to say mid 90s.
Come up to that mic just a little.
Oh, 80s and like up to the early 90s. Mm-hmm. Most MCs back then was conscious rappers.
Yeah.
You can't push, if you want to talk about the government at the time, probably still to this day, didn't want to see a lot of smart Black Americans.
Well, look what happened with Public Enemy when they came out.
They got shut down too, because it was like, yo, you're rivaling up the blacks to push,
creating a movement.
Yes, we don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many times people created a movement and they're not living anymore.
Yeah, that's scary.
They're not living anymore, or they become corrupt, like Al Sharpton.
Mm-hmm.
So that message was like, you can't do this. I mean, but if you take that and stimulate it back to slavery days, they didn't want to teach you how to read, because once you knew how to read, you can create a movement and overcome certain things that they was talking about, or you can read what they was going to do and you can overcome that. So therefore, the ignorancy, if we keep pushing that, they can't come to the top.
Like we said, knowledge is power, man.
Right. So,
it even shows for you. I mean, like you said, you still stay a student. You're still learning. And this is why you have your studio and why people are gravitating towards your studio, because you are still learning and gaining knowledge and going to New York and educating yourself on the history. You're not just teaching dancing, or breaking or hip hop, like you're the history behind it. And that's impactful.
Yeah, I'm teaching the history, teaching the lineage, where it come from, teaching the understanding. I'm teaching life lessons from it all, because you can't really grow if you don't know the mistakes or the bad that came from it. You know, when I teach at the studio, I don't always just give the good side. Mm-hmm. I'll talk about the bad side.
That's good.
You know, like I can't give you one-sided. Yeah. It's a two-sided coin.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to give you just all greatness. You know, like, yo, back in the days, this was like this. You know, mm-hmm. Here's a documentary. Watch this. And it's going to give you the good and the bad side too. Mm-hmm. But that's just part of education. You got to know it all.
Going back to when you were speaking to the FBI, do you take the time also to speak to these communities as well to kind of bridge that gap? Have you been invited out to anything or talk to anybody? And because you're explaining to the FBI, this is how to handle something they don't know. Mm-hmm. Do you also talk to the community and explain, hey, this is how their perspective is, to try to bridge that? Or
no, when I talk to the community, I don't really talk about the FBI part.
Okay.
Because we're to be talking about the hip hop culture part, and the understanding of that. You know,
not necessarily FBI, but maybe law enforcement. I mean, there's been feuds with law enforcement and inner city communities for so long. You know,
we don't talk necessarily about the law enforcement either. But it would be cool. I mean, I try to connect with KCPD to see if there's a place to talk about hip hop in that setting. Mm-hmm. This is a while back when I was teaching at Arts Tech down in Kansas City, but nothing came out of it. I think education of hip hop culture on the FBI platform or the police platform would shed a different light and understanding, in my opinion, because they get to see it. You know, taking them to an event and be like, "This is what the culture is like." Mm-hmm. What you see the culture is like, it's not the same. Mm-hmm. Yes, you see the culture of the dope heads, the crack house, the hood, and people fighting and shooting and stuff like that. But that's a whole different understanding of why they're going through that and how they got that message to do that.
Right.
You know, so when you understand that part of it and you see and understand the struggle and why they don't want to get out of that life or limelight, then you can understand that perspective of it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying, you know, let's promote that. Mm-hmm. But I know what that life is like because, you know, we lived in neighborhoods. I have friends that live in neighborhoods. I go through the neighborhoods, so I see it from a different perspective and a different understanding. But I'm also not living in that, so I can give a different perspective of how to move out or overcome what you're going through. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to do it, I'm not going to force you to do it at the same time.
Right.
But
and like you said, luckily you've been all around.
Right.
So your perspective is a lot different than a kid growing up in one specific area his whole life.
Right.
You know, so he's kind of got more of like the blinders on a horse. You know, he only sees this. You've gotten to see so much. It's got to be frustrating that hip hop has that stigma. You understand why both of them are kind of, I don't want to say like they come from one another, but they're kind of mended somehow. You know, the side of the drugs and the gangs and stuff like that and hip hop. How do you think that, I know there's not one specific answer to say, how do we solve this? But how do you think that we bring hip hop, or you bring hip hop more to the lighter side of it? Like, what do you have to do? How do you go into these communities and explain to them, like, it doesn't have to be this, like we can have a lighter side to it? I mean, I know it's more complex than that, for sure.
It is very complex because you can show by example, but then they look at you and go, "You're a square."
Yeah, you're a sellout. Yeah.
Like, yo, you doing this? Like,
why does that happen? Why do you think that happens? The psychology behind that.
Dude, we can go back to I'm trying to think of the dude's name. The Jim Crow. You can go all the way back then. All that still stimulates till this day. It never was erased. You know, people think it's gone. I mean, but, you know, that's why there's still conversations, you know, light skin's better than black people, or black people better than light skinned people. Yeah. You know, that whole stigma still hasn't changed. So, you know, if you was a smart person, you was being white, you acting white. If you're not smart, you know, then you're a real black person, you know. Mm-hmm. But I don't see it that way. Some people still see it that way that lives in the neighborhood. Oh, you uppity. Yeah. Oh, you live in this neighborhood. Like real black people, they live out here. This is what we do. Blah blah blah. And it's like, nah, that's not what we do. That's a choice you do. Yeah. But going back to your thought process, the music gives that limelight that it's okay to do this. You know, like, yo, I sold dope and I made this amount of money. You don't need no 9 to 5. You need to just do this. Mm-hmm. All right, well, I don't need no 9 to 5. I just sell dope and I'll make my money.
Right.
You know, and now they're living that life. It's hard to escape that because it becomes a norm.
Yeah.
My uncle did it. My cousin did it. This guy in the rap song, he did it. He's at the top. If I do it, I'll be at the top.
Yeah.
But what he's talking about relates to me. So if it relates to me, why do I need to do anything outside of this relationship that I have with this music?
Yeah.
You know, so if there was a lot of positive rappers out there, MCs, I think it might influence quite a few people. You know, you got to take the drug dealer rapper and him change his life and speak that message. And some people will follow and some people are like, nah, he's a sellout. Like,
it's hard because the stories are so gravitating. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time, like you said, it can influence, and that's younger kids. That's the problem. And I think, I don't know how you feel about where hip hop's going, but just to touch back on that other two, I'm kind of a squirrel sometimes when it comes to thoughts, but what you were saying, lighter skin to darker skin, acting white, acting this, you know, whatever race you are. I was just talking to a guy at work yesterday about this. His name's Javel. He says he's dealt with the same thing. He grew up in the city as well as in the country. So he had family on both sides, I guess. And I told him, because he was telling me the same thing, he gets a lot of shit for the way he talks. And he's like, why? Because I just don't use a lot of slang in how I talk or whatever it is. And he would get a lot of shit from his cousins and his friends, you know, back in the city. But I told him, I said, man, you know, I look really white, but I grew up from 2 different race household. And I got a lot of shit. And it wasn't really from white people. I got a lot of shit from my Mexican side for being white. Like, oh man, you're white boy, blah, blah, blah. You ain't Mexican, you know, like.
Because your skin wasn't dark enough.
Yeah. But when you get older and you actually look in Mexico and how many different shades and colors, you know, that there is, you go, why was I getting so much shit? Like, that dude's got blue eyes and he's from Guadalajara, like, and he's blonde hair.
But that's my point is the understanding of what neighborhood you grew in. Mm-hmm. That's all you know.
Right.
You don't know nothing else outside of that because they're not open-minded. They didn't have a chance to travel outside of that area to see there's other people that's Mexican or have a Mexican half that is a white complexion.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because we all come, I mean, Spanish blood. There was Irish settlers into Mexico. There's African, like
the Moors.
Yeah, like there's communities there that they don't even speak of, but like I don't know where their origin. I mean, I guess Africa would be the origination, but like black communities in Mexico that are not talked about.
Yeah,
you know?
but
Chinese communities that are Mexican in
so
Mexico.
the most one of the most traveled African people that travel the world. That's why you see a lot of different ethnics that have a lot of black features. Was the Moors. The Moors traveled. The Moors from Africa, they was the one that was actually selling, material to people in Europe.
Really?
So there's a lot of people. If people don't know about the Moors, check up the Moors and you'll see how far and what they contribute to the different countries.
Really?
As much. But back to the thing about people treating you different is because they never had a outlet to know that there's other things to learn to move ahead. Like I said, I lived in Japan. I came back. My family members made fun of me because I talked proper. When I moved to South Carolina, they used to call me, white boy was one. You ain't black, you white. Like, why? Like, why I gotta be the white dude? But my whole school is predominantly black. I'm black, but I'm white. It was like, how is that possible? It was the way I talk. It was the way that I dress. It was the way that I moved. It was the way that my understanding of things, of like seeing a different perspective. When we lived in South Carolina, we stayed in the middle of two crack areas. But I saw everybody as the same,
Gotcha.
And so they saw me different because I had things they didn't have.
Yeah.
I did things that they didn't do. So it was like I was uppity. I was trying to outdo them. I was trying to be better than them. I wasn't trying to be better than any of them. I thought I was just being me.
Right.
And so like, so that was a tough time. That was one of the reasons why I got bullied, because I wasn't like nobody else. I still listen to the same hip hop tapes and rap tapes, and I still went to black functions, and but they was like, nah, you're white. I'm like, how about white? I didn't, the word was like rinse, you need to rinse off. I didn't say wrench off, but when I was younger, I did. But then I got more educated. I try to pronunciate my words a lot better. One, because before the word code switching was a thing, when I talked to white people, I had to enunciate my words better so they can understand what I'm saying, versus talking to my friends in the hood. I didn't have to enunciate to them. I could, and sometimes I did. And it was like, why using those white words? I'm like, it's the same word you just used. I just enunciated different.
Where does that come from? That what you're saying, changing up, you speaking proper to how you talk to your friends in the hood.
That,
like, why is it a bad thing to speak the way you speak?
Because it's like, again, it's not
like, where do you think that comes from? Down the history, like
we go back to the Jim Crow days. You speak to somebody, hi, master. You talk that way, then you go up later on, and then black people couldn't get jobs, and so they figure out what white people was doing, and so, well, we have to do that to get a job. So I'm gonna practice speaking this way, so when I go in my interview, I get a job. Right. Afros back then, it goes all over the place. Afros back then was getting permed out to look flattened, to look like the white people, to fit in, because you wasn't like looking like, oh, can't wear that, you too pro-black. You need to fit in. So they put their hair down just to, fit in. There's a documentary that's like, I just showed my daughter today, How to Sell to a Negro. There's like all these different things. So we adopted these things that we had to fit in, to get jobs, to hang out with white people, to talk proper, because if you talk a certain way and then they deem you as, oh, you're ghetto, you're black, oh, you're from that side of the tracks, versus like if I talk proper, oh, you're great, you're nice. So what school do you go to? You go to this school over here? And you're like, nah, I go to school over there. Oh. And so to mask that, we have to act. That's why the term acting white. It's not the fact that we're trying to act white. We just talking proper because this is how it gets by over here.
Right.
Versus like.
Do you feel like you have to, or is this what you want to do?
Kind
of a correlation.
It depends. Like when I talked to the FBI, I was me.
Right.
I didn't switch up nothing. You got me. When I go to a job interview,
right.
I'm straightforward. I'm proper.
Play corporate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, but once I get in, I'm back to me again. Like you already hired me now. So
because what I'm getting to is that from how I'm understanding it, how you're explaining it, it's not necessarily a bad thing how people from these areas speak from both sides, from the proper side to the hood. You know what I mean? Like nothing is bad. It's just whatever route you take, but you shouldn't ridicule somebody for whatever direction they go. That's kind of where you're going with that.
Right. Yeah. Because you was taught this way.
But I mean, even from both sides, because it's upsetting that how the white side, you have to be this, you have to flatten your hair, you have to talk this way. That's no better than the guy in the hood saying, you speak this way, you are less, or you are not one of us. They're both wrong.
Right. Yeah. But also at the same time, on the white side, they will tell you have to speak this way and act this way if you want to advance over here. And the black side, they're not telling you have to speak this way, to act this way, to be from the hood. Most white people that grew up or hang out in the hood, they wasn't told to talk that way. They just adapted that way.
You're right.
And the white side,
they're forcing you.
You tell you to talk that way if you want to go this way.
Yeah.
And so, and like you said, neither one of them is bad. It's just, what is your upbringing and what is your understanding, and then where are you trying to go with your life? If you know that, if I talk like this, I'm not going to get that job. So it's just your choice if you want to do that or not do that.
I could see them both having negatives. I know one negative aspect of that from the corporate side is it's fucking boring. Like everybody is just bland. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Let's spice it up a little bit, guys. Let's kind of let people be who they are. You know what I mean? Instead of you must wear this stupid suit and tie and you must do that. Like, let's bring in different ideas and let people be. Like, creativeness comes from people who can be who they are, right?
Yeah, but that's still a way the corporate world was made. You gotta wear a suit, you gotta wear a tie, you gotta wear this.
Yeah, and I have nothing against people who want to wear them, but it's just.
But then again, that's still adapted from the slave days.
Okay,
still adapted. The reason why most people dress the way they dress and dress fresh and have fashion, that was already given to us. You have to dress this way. When they went to church with the slave master, they made them wear a suit, tie, make them look really nice. And then when they went back home, they didn't dress that way. They was like, put these clothes back on. But that's been adapted through the lineage and generation to why when black people go to church, they wear a suit, they wear a tie, they dress really nice. When you go to a white church, you don't see a lot of suits.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of ties.
Just depending on stock. You probably see it like a Mormon or, stuff like Jehovah's Witness.
So fashion was already given to us.
Right. Hip-hop. Fashion in the hip-hop community is really big.
Yeah, but that still stimulates from this.
Right.
You got to look good. You got to look presentable.
Yeah. Gold, jewelry.
Yeah, but there was no gold back then in the slave days.
No, but it was sought after, though, right? I mean, because where does the jewelry come from, like, through history? Why did that become such a prized possession? I got to have the biggest chain. I got to have, I got to stand out. I guess maybe, or not. I don't know about in the early days, but I guess in the 80s and 90s, more of the dope dealer lifestyle type. I mean, that's what they were wearing. I guess mimicking that.
It was the flashiness. I mean, you know, that era of the late 70s, early 80s, that was modified after they idolized the pimps in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the hood, the person with the most money with the flashy stuff, that's who you idolize. That's who you wanted to be like. You didn't want to be a police officer.
Yeah.
You want to be super fly. Yeah. You want to be the Mac because he got the money, he got the cars, he got the ladies. That's who you're idolizing. Yeah. You ain't idolizing nobody else. Your dad could be a hard worker, 9 to 5, making money, but everybody flocked to this person. Everybody saw this person as a high level. He made it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my dad's cool, but no one's flocking to him. You know, that's what I want to be like.
How do you feel the direction of hip hop nowadays?
It's taking our kids down the wrong path. I mean, it's deteriorating. There's no hip hop. There's no hip hop. I don't know what this is on the radio. Right. It's selling sex.
Sex and money.
You know, there's no hip hop. You know, you got Sexy Red out here. I have no idea. She's trying to say this is what a lady's like.
My booty hole brown girl.
You know, this is what ladies like. That's not what a lady's like.
Oh man.
You know.
Apparently they do. You been to the clubs lately?
I mean, I don't really go clubbing like that though. But
I don't either. But I know I've heard stories. I got younger brothers.
They were. You know, man, it's just so many avenues to go down. Like women nowadays, okay, let me rephrase that. Some women,
you're right,
nowadays, don't dress according to a man that would treat her with the respect that she wants.
Agreed.
Because based off how you dress, you know.
Yeah. He may want you for that moment.
Right.
Or will he want you over the long term?
Like Dave Chappelle said a long time ago, if you're wearing a ho's uniform, what you want me to
for sure.
And they go, no, I'm not that. And so Dave Chappelle said, so if I put on a police uniform and you come ask me to help you, and I was like, just because I'm wearing a police uniform doesn't mean I'm a police. So therefore, you know, and you want to be treated a certain way, but you're dressed a certain way. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you dress a certain way, you get treated a certain way.
Right.
And so therefore, if I dress on the white side, I get treated a certain way.
Yeah.
If I came on the white side dressed like I did on this side, they're going to treat me a certain way based off the idea of what they see degrading in ghetto and hood, whatever you want to call it. That's how they're going to treat me.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be treated that way. So I'm going to dress this way to be treated in a positive way.
Right.
And so with Sexy Red, NBA Youngboy, there's a lot of rappers I listen to. I don't listen to Sexy Red. I don't listen to that.
Yeah.
And I'm just listening to, I'm just like, you like this? I'm looking to talk to my daughter. I said, you like this music? Like, they're not saying nothing.
Yeah. A lot of times it's the beat. They just like the beat.
Most of the time. You know, my daughter still know all the lyrics, but I'm just like, they're not saying nothing. Like, what message did you get from this that you can use to teach the next generation?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I know it's bad. I know it's this. I know it's negative.
No, yeah, I mean.
But she just likes the music. She doesn't, you know, dabble into it like it's changing her life.
Yeah.
But
who are some of the ones that are showing the lighter side, you think, right now? Like, I'm a big Logic fan. I like Logic. I think he's pretty dope.
You got, you know,
I'm trying to think of the other
Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar. I don't really listen to him as
J.
much.
Cole. I'm trying to think who's out there still rocking.
Yeah, J. Cole's cool. I like that. I kind of like a couple or one of his songs with Drake that he just came out with. Pretty good. Not much of an inspirational song, but it goes down to beat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they just got some dope beats. Yeah, what's
you know, but you know,
I'm looking through my playlist right now.
You got playlists?
Yeah, I'm looking through some. I told you I'm bad with names, man, but I have playlists. Joyner Lucas,
Yeah, he's dope.
Yeah.
He's really dope.
Dude, that one, when I heard that Ross Cappuccioni or whatever his name is, that song was crazy, man, about that kid that met his friend and then they ended up trying to kill him. That was wild. Have you seen that one?
Nuh-uh.
Oh, dude.
But I know what song you're talking about. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
though.
dude. Watch the video, man. It was wild. And just the song, too. You felt like you were there, man. I mean, he literally laid out a story, and you don't really hear that. Hobson.
Hobson changed.
Did he?
Hobson changed.
When he used to do the Ill Minds, ooh, man. Like, he had like 9 of those songs, dude.
So when you go back to the original Hobson, that dude was rapping about weird stuff.
Wasn't he like a Christian though first, and then he switched to the weird stuff? Or
now I don't know the history about that. I just remember when I first started listening to Hobson, he was into that weird. I don't want to really say satanic stuff, whatever, but the weird eyes and
kind of like what they deemed or used to deem Tech Nine. He used to get that a lot too,
right?
You know?
And so he had some interesting songs back then, but then he changed it. Now it's like a whole different positive message, and like he was like night and day.
I think it's
Lupe Fiasco is another one.
Yeah, Lupe Fiasco is good. Yeah. I remember Kick Push. That was a good song. I think it's just we can't hold artists to be the same person throughout their entire career. They go through different changes and personalities just like an everyday human being.
Right.
You know? If you were to look at me at 25 or even 20, I was 2 different people. At 20 years old, I was different at 25. I'm different at 30. You know?
Oh yeah, I was definitely different at
20. So with artists, you see it through their music, you know? And so sometimes we tend to be like, they changed, or they're not the same. Well, they're going through life just like you are, you know?
But I never said, No,
I'm not saying that's what you said.
It was negative that he changed. I just noticed that
he was
from
different.
This one, he changed to this one. Positive message versus negative message. So in between that, it'd be interesting to ask him, why'd you shift?
Yeah, probably life. I mean, have you heard some of his Ill Mind songs?
No.
You should listen to those, man. I mean, he talks about a lot of shit on there, But yeah, man, I mean, who else is kind of the light right now? I mean, I feel like there's not very many.
The crazy thing, I can tell you more of the dark than I can tell you the light.
I feel like that's a purpose. Like,
so
it's intended to be like that.
But they've been saying the purpose for a long time. A lot of these rappers tell you, what the record label wants to push. Like when
it's what sells.
And all these rappers want to get a label. They want to be on a label. They want to rap, and they want to rap about. It's funny nowadays. Rappers are rapping about themselves, putting themselves in jail.
Oh yeah.
They doing confessions. Or back in the days, you weren't rapping about your confession. You might hint something about somebody you didn't like or some situation that happened, but you wasn't telling on yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I condone that too,
Yeah.
But at the same time,
be smart about it.
the rapping nowadays that's why a lot of these youth are killing people. In my opinion, some of these youth are listening to these lyrics and hear about these murders and this person and how they got away with it, or you could get away with it, or now they picking sides. Oh, I'm with this block. I'm like, you never been there, right. But I understand what he's talking about. It resonates me. I'm like, you live in the suburbs.
It sucks that music's like that, but because I feel bad because some of them really slap. So I'm like.
The beat's dope.
I shouldn't be listening to this shit at 32 years old, but damn, that song goes fucking hard, dude. But I also like rated R movies about people, assassins and shit. Like, I mean, I know how to differentiate the two. You know what I mean? I know it's I'd like to think it's a fantasy, like you said. A lot of it's not. A lot of it's real life. These dudes are actually out here doing dirt.
But it just wasn't for me. You know what I'm saying? I had friends that when growing up, they smoked weed, they drank a lot. They sold crack. They sold meth. I seen it all. But it just didn't resonate with me. It wasn't for me. I can see myself like, nah, that's not for me. Am I mad at you that you do it? I'm not mad at you. That's just the path you chose. Yeah. That's the way of life you want to live. And if that's the way you see you have to put food on the table, that's your choice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, yo, man, you shouldn't do that. Da, da, da. I might say, why you do it? And you give me a reason, I'm not going to argue with the reason. Like, well,
just curious.
That's your life, you know. Yeah. You got to deal with the consequences if it ever happens. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to do that. But I also know on the flip side of the negative side of that, if I'm with you, you get busted. We all busted. Yeah, you know. Right. So it's like I look at the negative side, like, dude, do I want to be around that when it happens? Yeah. But he is, you know, he is my friend. He's a good person. You know,
or even worse, if you got enemies and I'm with you, they shoot me too.
Right. You know, so it's like, you know, everybody has a different,
I stay away from that,
a different lifestyle. But I also know that with me, how I am, I can shine a different perspective, have them think about something different than what they normally think. Just plant a seed, and then I don't push the seed. I just let it plant, and then if you whatever route you take after that, you know, cool. You know, I have a homeboy that I planted a seed. It didn't resonate. He got busted. Then it resonate. Yeah. You know, it's like, it'll resonate. I should have took this message long time ago.
Yeah. Sometimes it resonates. Sometimes they still go back. I've got buddies that they'll go in there, they'll get out, and then they'll end up right back in there. I'm like,
you know, you, in my opinion, they didn't hit rock bottom.
Right.
When you hit rock bottom, that's when you know something has to give.
Yeah.
You got to hit rock bottom. Some people don't hit rock bottom. They go in and come back out. But when they come back out, their homies already got them, you know, we got you when you come out, you know. Right. So they already like, well, I'm good when I come out. But they don't see the very low of the abyss and have to crawl your way back to the top.
Or even that. Wait till your homies grow up and they change and they have families. Not everybody stays that way. You know what I mean? And then you don't have anybody to go home to. You're by yourself.
Right.
You know?
You know, but you think they would learn if they, you know, when most of them go to prison. Their friends,
not really. From what I heard, I got
their friends don't call them.
Yeah. Or put money on their books.
Right.
I got people that, you know, have been in prison and I mean, it's a shit show in there, man. You know?
Yeah, there's I heard different stories. I heard the good, heard
probably
the
depending
bad.
on where you're at.
Yeah, it's always
or your mindset, you know, too.
Right.
So, like your mindset being in there, there's gonna you can pick probably two routes: the positive route or the negative route. Or sometimes in some prisons, according to Wes Watson, you ain't got a fucking choice. So, but different state,
different state. You know, different codes. You know, I know people
different levels
that went
prisons,
in. And you know, they're a gang member, and when you go to prison, there's no sets. You know, if you're a Crip, you hang out with the Crips. If you're a Blood, you hang out with the Bloods. Mm-hmm. If you're a white supremacist, you hang out with the whites. Yeah. You know, and you create a bond or a friend, and then when you guys get out, you guys are still friends, even though your sets are beefing with each other, but you guys are still friends, you know? And it's just, it's hard for some people to, and that's how some people will kind of like bring themselves away from the activity. They still associate with it, but they're like, I'm not full-fledged, you know?
Yeah, race is such a weird thing, man. How we just categorize ourselves and separate ourselves from just because somebody looks different. You know what I mean? When in a sense, we're all the human beings who just come from different upbringings, you know, and some of us from the same. So, I would say I hope to see that change, but I don't know. I think it floats up and down.
But that's the thing. When is it going to change? You know, I have people right now that think racism don't even exist anymore.
Oh, it exists.
Oh, it does.
I think it's like a pendulum. I think some people are on the side of it doesn't exist, and some are on the side of it's just a lot. And I'm more of in the middle of where it exists. I think it's better than what it was compared to, in my perspective. Of course, I don't walk in everybody's shoes. So in my perspective, I would like to think it's better than the 20s and 30s and 40s for people.
Oh, well, we know that for sure. Ain't nobody picking cotton anymore.
Yeah, but it's still prevalent. You know what I mean? Well, let's not say that far then. 60s and 70s. Right.
You know, it was still bad then.
Yeah, I know it was bad, but not
ain't nobody getting hit with the water hose.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, but like you said, we acknowledge that it's there. When is it going to change?
Some acknowledge that it's there.
Those are ignorant people.
But the thing is that the people that acknowledge that it's there, in my opinion, and the people that don't know it's there, it's because they never had to deal with that situation.
Or had anybody around them deal with that situation.
Or see it firsthand. Mm-hmm. They just think like, oh, that happened a long time ago.
Like I said, man, they're like this. They're like the horse with the blinders, man.
You know, when I tell people at my studio certain things that happened to me at my studio, they was like, what? That happened? Like, yeah, when some people come to the studio and figure out that I'm the one that run it, they're like, oh, so you're the guy?
Well, who else is gonna run it?
It just changed. You know, they're like,
what they think? Who they think was running it?
I have no idea.
I mean, I'm not saying hip hop is only for black people, but I mean, Hispanics, I mean, whites, I'm sure have been involved in hip hop, but I don't.
In the earlier days, no whites.
Okay.
Mostly.
But nowadays, I mean, I'm sure there could be a white guy with the hip hop school, but I don't think you should walk into a hip hop school and just think this specific person is going to run it. How do you know? I mean, we're all.
I can give you stories of like, you know, I had people walk into a place I'm teaching a workshop at, and there'd be like, you know, older people, like late 30s, early 40s. And they would come in with their hat cocked sideways and like, yo, we do hip hop. And they walk in and they see me and they're like, oh, shoot. They fix their hat or they take their hat off or they'll change their demeanor because they're like, oh, we're coming to do hip hop. We're going to have fun. Da, da, da. And then they see me and they're like, oh, this is really a real hip hop class. Mm-hmm. That's a real hip hop teacher. You're like, I'm like, who you thought you was going to have? Steve, Bethany, Jenny? Who you thought was going to teach this class? But then again, they mostly see those people teach hip-hop classes.
Oh, so it is a thing.
Yeah, so they mostly see white people teach it. Mm-hmm. You know, if you go to different studios, there's mostly white people teaching hip-hop or they think they know hip-hop.
Gotcha.
And it's mostly... a girl or a woman, mostly teaching hip hop, mostly.
The dancing side of it, or
the dancing side. That's all you get. You know, you don't get nothing else.
Yeah.
But when they walk in, you know, they're like, oh, and how people, you know, change when they see who's running the show.
You think they're worried about them thinking that somehow they're appropriating the culture, or?
I had that happen too. I had other. You know,
I know that's a big talked about worry.
I had a lot of white people tell their white friends they go to my studio that they're not in the right culture. Like you're not culturally appropriating. You're culturally appropriating the culture. I'm like, what? That doesn't. They're not. They didn't come in here acting like this and pretending they was this. They just came in as who they were. And, you know, and some of those people that they have to conversate with, they think it's just black people. And you can't go there. You're not black. You're white. Yeah. You know, that's for black people. And I'm like, what? This person told you this and they're your friends and they live in the suburbs? I'm not sure if you should be rocking with them like that. Because I already understand. I haven't even talked to this person yet. But I have an idea where their brain is at. Mm-hmm. You know,
hey, you're like the Bruce Lee of hip hop over here, right? 'Cause you remember Bruce Lee got scrutiny from that, you know, teaching what was Bruce Lee, Chinese, I think. Wanted to say Asian, non-Asian people martial arts, and they got upset with him about that. It was supposed to stay with them only.
Yeah, and so we see a different side.
Your side of it is let's teach everybody so we can make this community stronger, and everybody has the understanding of where this comes from and what it's about.
Right. I mean, you know. Like I tell people, I'm teaching in the Johnson County area, and it's way different over there. Mm-hmm. And
why'd you target that area? Is it just everything happened to happen? Like...
So I chose Johnson County because everyone needs education.
Okay.
Everyone needs to understand the culture of it because there's a lot of what's the word? White people that like hip hop. They think they're hip hop. They think they're into hip hop. They're down with hip hop, but they don't know the side of hip hop. And they want to do hip hop dancing or they want to do breaking. And they're just like, well, I need to be educated on the culture itself so you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it versus just doing it. Go back to what I said earlier, teaching in the hood, most of them think they already know hip hop. They don't need to come to class. Mm-hmm. And so therefore they're not coming.
Which is hurting them as well.
Right. But also at the same time, most people that teach in the hip hop culture in the city, if it was a white person, they're like, oh, we have to do this because they're underprivileged. And then most people that are black, we have to do this because we're giving back. And I'm in the middle going, no, we should do it because it's an education, it's an outlet for a positive view. And most people that I ran across, and mostly the hoods, most of them can't afford the fees. And then I go to Johnson County, most of them can afford the fees, but they have no education. Right. Most people in the neighborhood, they have sort of an education. Right. And so it's like a
hard balance. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, well, I want to go to Johnson County. I want to teach them the culture and the history since they want to be about it, and give them a different path. And so I chose that location because it's right next to the Johnson County Library.
Oh, okay.
So it's an education source right there. Yeah. And so we do things together as well.
Is there any type of, because of the issue with, from certain areas not having the funds in order to go, has there been any programs that have reached out to you that want to help kind of on the financial side of it, help fund or sponsor students maybe in those areas?
There is, but the thing is that I have to have a 503(c), which is a umbrella like for nonprofit, because I'm a profit studio, and I have to have a 503(c) to take donations and stuff.
Oh,
for scholarships and things like that. If I had that, it'd be different. We have an umbrella part of it.
Is that something difficult to get, or just something that you haven't got to yet? Or
well, from what I did research, there's a 6 months program and there's a 1 year program to get a nonprofit. It's not just like that,
for sure.
So
I think that would help you a lot, maybe. Or I'm not saying there's going to be students that are knocking at the door trying to rush in, but at least you'd have that avenue to where you can go, hey, I'm out here. You guys have this opportunity. Here's people that want to help, but you're not taking it. So like, come on.
Right. We give discounted rates.
Oh, that's cool.
For people that want to come that can't afford it.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we give that discount rate, they still complain about can't afford it.
Yeah.
Or it's so interesting. I have, my people come to me. It's like, hey, you got a hip hop school. This is dope. My kid wants to take it. Blah 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 blah. Can you give us a hookup? Can you give us a discount? I'm just like, why would you come and ask for that?
Yeah. You see, I'm running a business too,
right? Now, if you went to this other studio that was white, you wouldn't ask for a hookup. You wouldn't ask for a discount. You'd just be like, oh, that's the fee. Either you pay it or you don't.
You're right.
You know, and it's very strange. I still haven't figured out yet why us black people will go out and buy a Louis Vuitton belt, but won't support the homeboy down the street that made a dope belt just like Louis Vuitton.
Right.
You buying $100 belt, he's selling for $50. You complain that it's too much money, but you just bought $100 belt.
Yeah, you're glorifying brands that are promoted by celebrities, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So even with the studio that's ran by me, African American, most black people feel like I should be hooking them up, because we're black.
Yeah.
We should stick together.
Yeah.
I'm still running the business.
Yeah.
If I hooked you up and gave you all these discounts all the time, black person come in, we ain't got a studio.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a balance to that. It's not that you're not trying to help or bring kids in, but at the same time, it costs money to fund this business too. So.
Right. I mean, I get the brunt end of the stick, like I said, teaching the white predominant area.
But I see nothing wrong with that either, man.
I have a few.
I hope they don't give you that much shit for that, because what does it matter?
Oh yeah, they do.
I know, but what does it matter?
I have a few black kids. I have a few biracial kids, but most of my kids is mostly white.
Yeah, you think they'd want that, so that way these children can understand and have a better. So you're not having to go to these FBI agencies and explain to them. Now they have maybe a couple of your kids might be an FBI agent one day and remember and have that history with you and go, oh, I get it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have a different perspective.
I have people on my Facebook studio page write some insane stuff. I got to go in there, find it really quick and erase it for my other parents and people see it, because it's just foul stuff.
Yeah, you don't need that negative stuff.
Like one incident. What are you going to do? Teach the kids how to sell cocaine and crack and wear gold chains? I was like, you wrote this on my page, and I had to delete it, and I had
you should just leave it on there to make them look stupid.
And then I had I can give you many incidents. Another lady commented one there, and she goes, "Oh, how are you going to have a hip hop school? And I just looked at your video, and I see no black kids." And I'm looking. I go back to the video. I go, "There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4 on the video." And you see no black kids. So I wrote her a private message. And I was like, yo, I don't like how you came at my studio like this, blah, 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 blah. Her response was, oh, just so you know, I have a biracial kid. And I was like, that doesn't clear up what you
said.
What does that mean? It doesn't change the narrative of what you said. Yeah, you got a biracial kid. But what you said, you were speaking negative to the fact that there is white kids and you're a white lady.
Yeah.
And there was biracial kids in the video, but you have a biracial son. You will be happy to have your son go there versus, oh, you're faking the funk. There's no black kids in there. Like, I'm black. I'm the one running the show. So definitely you can't say there's no blackness at the school because I'm running it. Just blackness,
Goes back to what you said, tribalism, man.
So
tribalism is very prevalent in today's world, man. It always has throughout history, It's always you're on my team or you're on the other team,
Right. So it's, like I said, there's many stories I had to go through for the studio, even to get the studio, running the studio, dealing with parents that don't want to take, what's the word? I'm going to use this word very loosely, command from someone's black. It's like, oh, how dare you tell me what to do? It's like, what? You come here. I run the show, so I get to tell you what to do.
Right.
But it's like they feel a certain way because in their everyday life is always a white person that's in charge telling you what to do versus a black person telling you what to do. It's just.
Do you feel like that is always the case, or do you feel like some people just have that attitude and it could be towards anybody?
I think it's both.
Both, yeah.
I think
agree.
It's both.
It's kind of hard to put the finger on it because you really don't know inside their mind whether or not it's because of the color of your skin or this person just doesn't like people telling them this is how it is,
Well, most people are passive aggressive. I'm a straightforward, direct person. I'm just going to tell you how it is.
Yeah.
And so that also changes the narrative of that person because they're white and I'm a person telling you direct. And it's like, again, how dare you tell me this?
Right.
It's like, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Right.
I'm not going to be passive aggressive. I'm not going to be the corporate route of like sugar coated, how they call it, the ice cream sandwich, whatever they call it, the cookie sandwich, whatever they call it. Well, give a positive, then a negative, then another positive. I'm just going to tell you the truth straight up.
Yeah, don't beat around the bush.
Right.
Yeah. Well, to get to the lighter side of it, man, to your business, what do you guys have going on? You guys have anything coming up? Anything you want to kind of put out there, promote?
Let's see.
How can they? You said you're out in John's. What's the address of that?
9625 87th Street.
Awesome. And I'll have the link to your website and everything up there too in the bio. So
so it's in Overland Park, but not in the heart of Overland Park. It's like right in the middle off of like 69, close to Lenexa, downtown Overland Park, but not all the way Overland Park, like 119th down that, not that way.
Gotcha. You guys got any events or anything coming up or anything?
We have our 5-year anniversary event coming up at the end of the month. Awesome. We throw battles. And so basically every last Saturday of the month, we throw a hip hop free event at the studio, and it always contains some b-boy battle, or hip hop battle. We have a DJ. Community comes, anybody can come and check it out and hang out. So it's not like you have to be part of the studio. We leave that open so people on the outside can come in and see what we do. They might have kids, and their kids might see it and be like, yo, I want to do this. So we are doing a lot of things with a lot of different communities. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it this year, but I normally talk to the lowrider community and try to bridge the lowrider community and hip hop. And get people from the outside world to come in to see lowriders and see hip hop and see there's other cultures out there, that they've never seen. Yeah.
And lowriding and hip hop go together as well. I mean, for so long.
Yeah. But they mostly jam on that old school, Zapp and Rogers and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was a big Zapp and Rogers fan.
So,
Computer Love.
Yeah. So we invite people out to community events that we do. Like we go roller skating together, play kickball tournaments. We just got invited to do a performance at, I'm not sure which one it is, but a nursing home. So we just, Christmas, we just got done doing blessing bags for the homeless.
What is that? Oh, blessing bags?
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
And so we try to do a lot of community stuff.
That's good. How's the community helping you? Do you accept like sponsors or like people donating towards your cause and your school? And
I wish.
Oh, really?
I wish people.
Is that hard out there?
I wish people would donate or connect with us. I try to connect with different companies, and they're always like, "Oh yeah, let's work on some things," and then they never follow through.
Really?
And so I'll try to keep up with them, but after the third time, I'm not going to beg or chase you. I'm just going to I'm going to just put the ball on the side and go whatever.
I planted the seed. If it grows, it grows.
Right. Yeah. And then sometimes some businesses or companies will hit us up just because they want that credibility that, we had hip hop here. Right. They want that credibility to look cool.
Right.
And sometimes, we'll work out a deal, but sometimes I'm like, yo, here's the price. And they're like, nah, we don't want to pay that. I'm like, you hired us to do this,
And there's no like local artists that have gotten a hold of you, like hip hop artists or nobody that's that you've been able to work with and kind of explain what you're doing?
Nah, not really.
I mean, like the big one here is Tech Nine. I don't know if you've ever.
Yeah, Tech Nine is, he was one of them, but I try to get him to do some things together.
I guess
he'll say yeah, and then I text him, and then I won't hear anything.
I guess it's probably hard. He's blowing up. I mean, I'm sure, but you think he'd still stay local because what you're doing. I mean, how many of these studios are out there in Kansas City?
So you have mine. Mine's the way my studio is set up is only one of my studios,
right? But
there's another
similar to.
There's
yours.
Another hip hop studio. But there's only one of mine. It's one of a kind.
Yeah.
That we have.
Because they're just teaching the dancing portion. You're actually doing the history and the knowledge part of it. Yeah.
Oh, we have the art classes and the DJ classes.
Yeah, that's true.
That we added to our element that they don't do, which is fine.
What I'm getting to, because I just feel like, especially local hip hop artists, or even just in the Midwest, would want to help support what you're doing, because it sounds like, I don't want to say it's dying because I don't know if it is or not, but if, at some point it will, if the community is not supporting, and keeping it alive, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you have to also see most of these hip hop artists don't have a DJ.
Right. But you think they would still pay respect to the roots of hip hop,
Not necessarily.
That's kind of what you have.
but not necessarily, because most of these people didn't come up in that upbringing or understanding what hip hop was with the DJ or dancers.
I get it.
You know, so if a hip hop nowadays wanted a dancer, it ain't gonna be me. I don't attract the ladies. I don't attract the men to the show.
Right.
So I want a girl that's gonna shake her ass on stage, and then so people will come to the show. Like MC has now, it's all, you know, provocative,
right,
on
it's
stage,
very sexualized. Yeah,
you know, anybody going to come see no b-boys technically now with the way that rappers are. Even the hip-hop artists that, you know, that are still rocking and doing shows, most of the time they don't have the means or the funds to pay for the dancers. You know, they have money, they get paid for their show, but they want the b-boys and the dancers, whoever it is, to come do it for free. Like, oh yeah, come rock our show and get exposure. I'm like, dude, I'm 45. I had a lot of exposure. Like, I don't need free exposure anymore.
We got bills,
you know. And just like how you wrote your song and practiced your song and went over the lyrics and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
you getting paid for that. Just like I have to get myself or get another person. We gotta do a routine. We gotta practice a couple times a week. We gotta get your music. We gotta dance to your song. We have to learn the cadence and stuff of it. That's work.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we gotta get paid for that too. You know, you're paying for our time, but you're really paying for our expertise.
Yeah.
You know,
and the time it took for you to acquire all that knowledge. You weren't born with that.
Nah.
Yeah.
So, but they don't see the full spectrum. They just see, oh, you just break dance.
Right.
I'm like, nah, there's a lot of work that goes into this. I'm not just showing up, just breaking. You know.
Are you doing anything like social media wise or YouTube wise of maybe sitting down and trying to put this on a video platform, like explaining this stuff? Or
no, that's why I'm doing it with you.
Yeah. True.
You know, like I said earlier, it's easier.
I just think you would be very good if you did, like, even if you were to grab your phone and just start recording yourself talking about the history of hip hop. It could do a lot, you know. I know it's kind of hard, you know. A lot of people don't understand how difficult even this can be, sitting down talking. Luckily today, I mean, I think our energies are doing very well on, like, you know, this. We're going on 3 hours.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So yeah, and so the energy's there, but a lot of times that doesn't happen.
It's almost 4:00.
Yeah.
Dang, son.
Yeah, we're about to wrap it up. But what I'm saying is it flowed very nice, and sometimes they can be difficult depending on the guest, but it's even harder when it's just you looking into a camera trying to put content out. But I think you'd be very good at it if you've ever thought about it, you know, in the future.
I'd rather
to promote your business as well.
I'd rather still do the 2-on-2 or the the 1-on-1 aspect,
or the
of
hands-on at your school. Yeah.
Versus, like, I always try to figure out how do I set it up, like how people have a mic to talk into the platform and make it all look, you know, seamlessly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I always want to do it with somebody else. You know?
I get it.
Matter of fact, I'll pitch it to you. I want to do more shows with you.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Be your co-host.
Be my co-host. Hey, man, you're welcome to come on whenever you want, man.
Be your co-host. Interview people.
Yeah. I mean, I would, you can come on whenever you want. I've had many people on. I always let them know whenever they want to come on. Anybody's always welcome. All you have to do is just come with conversation, man. That's it, you know? Yeah. And, but yeah, man, think about it, man. You know, I think you'd be pretty good at that. And if not, I mean, you're rocking with your school right now. I'm hoping this, I don't have a ton of people that way. I mean, we're still fairly new, but I hope some people will see this at some point and either help you or bring more people to your school, because I mean, just talking to you today, man, I mean, you're an interesting person, man. I mean, I can tell when someone has put the hours and the effort into their craft, and that's what I see from you. And I don't even know, like, I'm not an expert in what you do, but the way you've explained it to me, like, I understand. And I've only scratched the surface with this conversation. You know what I mean? So
it gets deeper.
Yeah, for sure. So I hope, I wish you the best, man. And is there anything else that you want to put out there for your school or?
I mean, we have our Instagram page. It's Break Free KC for Instagram. You're gonna give out the website.
Yeah, I'll have everything tagged. I'll have.
And again, we teach ages 3 to adults. We don't have no restriction on the ages. Trying to think. I don't know. If people just want to rock with us on the community events or whatever, that's always cool. But I always look for people to partner up with or to do something outside of the studio that's community based.
Yeah.
And deliver messages, whatever the message may be. But I want to, always work with the right people and not just like, oh, we want hip hop because it's cool.
Yeah.
I want people to use us and utilize what we have to offer,
And don't forget too, man, like it's always nice when you have people to partner up with. I've been partnered up with people before doing podcasting, but you can do it on your own too. And you're doing it right now. And you've got the time invested, and there will be that point where everything changes, and you being, pushing this, steering the ship yourself, it's going to be so rewarding for you to know that like this was because of you. You know what I mean? And don't forget that. I mean, I'm not saying you have, but, and also anything else you do after this, like we had spoke, and you saying that, you want to partner up with somebody doing podcasting and stuff like that. But you don't need that, man. You can do this on your own. I guarantee you, man. I'll show you how all this shit works after the episode. It's not hard, It takes a little bit of knowledge. Just like me listening to you about hip hop, my brain is swirling right now with so many like questions, But to you already know because you have dedicated the time. The only difference is I've dedicated my time to learn this stuff, but we can also, it's like trading cards, man. I give you some of this information and you give me some of that information and we learn and we get better from each other. You know what I mean? And
right.
It's a beautiful thing, man. That's kind of why I started this, but
yeah, I got some mics, but they're not like, I think there are mics that you have to use they'll have like that USB connection in it, whatever.
I've seen people do them right off their phone, man, and they look pretty good. It all comes down to the editing software, which is free. I use a free site. It's just all about literally getting on YouTube University and typing in, how do I edit on this software?
Right.
And they'll teach you, I don't do anything crazy. I have a nice transition in at the beginning of the video with my logo and my song, and I have a nice transition out. That's it, and I don't edit anything throughout that. Just, I may chop up the very beginning if like it's just like small talk, me and you, and then we start it. And at the end, I'll chop up whenever we leave, but other than that, mine's raw conversation, man. And I'm not inventing the wheel. Everybody does it. But I mean, not everybody. Some people like to edit, and there's no knock to them. That's their style. But to me, it's like this conversation, I want it to look like as if there was no cameras.
Right.
And it was just me and you in the garage having a beer or something talking. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man. Shug, I want to thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. You're welcomed on whenever, man. Is there anything else you got? You good?
Nah, not really.
Nah.
If you see SugEasy out there, SUGEASY on a flyer, come check it out. Because usually when you see the flyer, I'm DJing somewhere. So
awesome, man.
We haven't even touched that topic yet either.
Oh yeah, we didn't even touch that.
Nope. Oh, like when people talk about hip hop, like I am those elements. I break, I DJ. You know what I'm saying? I MC, I do graffiti. So
I feel like there's going to be a lot of times you're going to be back on the show. It sounds like, you got a lot to talk about.
Like my homeboy the other day, I was DJing at the place called the Nighthawk, and he was like, he said, "Man, you're one of the few people I know that embodies hip hop for real. Yeah, like you do every single aspect of it, and not dabble in it. Like I can do it." So it's not like, oh, I know a little bit, like I can do it. Like I said, when I was 16, my mom, we gotta go. We got another podcast. But when I was 16, my mom found my first producer because I wanted to be a rapper at the age of 16.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of it's kind of weird, but it was called Rice Production.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to rap in front of this dude. I kicked the freestyle from him. He was like, yo, we can work with you, blah, blah, blah. And then after a while, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to take this route, you know. But I was still dancing, you know.
Yeah.
That was my thing, you know. But I used to rhyme and write raps and battle cats, and I got good from battling people because most of the time I was getting smoked, and I had to like go back, write with the pen, get good, and go back, battle them again. You know, this time it's like 3-1. Go back. But yeah, I used to rhyme all the time, you know.
Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing it next time, man.
Oh man, you know, I kind of rusty.
Yeah. Hey, I wish I could have you on for 6 hours, but you know.
Yeah,
I don't know. A lot of people don't even listen to the 3-hour podcast.
Yeah.
But me, I just love long form conversation. So
yeah.
To me, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to target people. I'm trying to be me, and if people come, they come. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. They don't.
I'm surprised you told it was 3 hours. I was like, yo, I gotta get on the road. I gotta go teach here.
Yeah.
Shortly.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey man,
and,
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No
It was
problem,
dope.
man. All right.